concerning the closed session?
There are no additions to the agenda for closed sessions.
Thank you. County Council, will you read the list of items to be discussed in closed session?
Sure, Chairman and members of the board. There are 3 items on today's closed session agenda. The first is conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The county negotiators are Adrian Caleb, and the employee organization is all units. There is one existing litigation matter to discuss under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D1. The case name is Michael Cureton versus the County of Madera, and the case number is listed on the agenda. The last item is anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D2, and there are 2 cases for the board to discuss this morning.
Thank you. Just a reminder, after the closed session, we'll have a photo shoot. We'll try to make it as quick as possible, and then we'll start our regular meeting. Thank you very much. Let's go. County Council, do you have anything to report out of closed session?
No, Chairman, there are no items to report, and just for the public to know, we cut closed session short, and we'll be taking up items later as the chairman decides, so that the board members and supervisors could take photographs. So we are not done with closed session.
Thank you. Invocation will be by Joyce Lane of Glory of Sinai Church. And the Pledge of Allegiance will be by Supervisor Robert Poitras. Please stand.
Thank you. Thank you. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Father, we thank you in the name of Jesus for this day and this time of conducting business, Lord. We pray that your Holy Spirit would be an influence for all of us that are involved in decisions and deciding what is good and best for the city of Madera, Lord. We pray that you would influence every decision, that we would conduct business as your word has stated, that in business we should be men and women. But Lord, let our hearts be in what we do, the things that we have to make decisions on, judgments, oh God. In Jesus' name we pray. Influence of all, Lord. We need you. We don't want to do anything without your influence. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board, but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium. Also, all persons addressing the board may state their name and county residence for the record.
Good morning, board members, Mr. CEO, County Council, Madam
Is the mic
Clerk.
on? Is the mic on?
Yes, it is. My name is Joseph Chadwan, Madera County resident. Today is the 73rd anniversary of Operation Neptune, also known as D-Day. Allied forces lost 225,606 to 226,386 men, 4,101 aircraft, and approximately 4,000 tanks. Nazi Germany lost around 400,000 casualties to 530 plus captured or killed, along with 2,127 aircraft and approximately 2,200 to 2,400 tanks and assault guns. Civilian deaths, pre-invasion bombing, 11,000 to 19,000 killed, and then during the invasion itself, anywhere from 13,600 to almost 20,000 killed. Ironically enough, today is the day that that Allied forces invaded Normandy. This morning, as I was typing this up, I saw a video from Normandy, France, where they were honoring Lieutenant Dick Winters of the 101st Airborne Division. Easy company. I give you these casualty reports because we need to remember what happened that day. We need to remember what was sacrificed for our freedom and for the freedom of France. I'm going to close by saying, God bless the United States and Vive la France.
Thank you, Brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll open and close in memory of. Oh, go ahead. Come on.
I got a public comment.
Oh, yeah, public. Yeah, okay.
Chairman Rodriguez, members of the board. My name is Charles Kuntz. I live in Santa Cruz County, and I'm here today to talk about a project that we're working on in Supervisor Rogers' district. There's actually two projects. As many of you know, given the agricultural nature of Madera County, the dairy industry has been consistently called on to improve its environmental performance in many, many ways. And the state of California has supported that effort through a series of grant making and technical support to enhance the dairy's ability to meet the environmental commitments of the modern era. What we're here to talk about, or what I'm here to talk about, and just give some brief information to the public and to the supervisors, is two proposed projects that build off the experience of another dairy in District 2, which is the dairy of Philip Verway Farms. In 2015, that dairy applied for and received CDFA grants to build an anaerobic digester. That project was completed in early 2017, and as of 2 weeks ago is making 600 kilowatts of completely renewable electricity and removing significant methane emissions from the air. So it has a positive effect on air quality, odor, as well as nutrient management by destroying 60 to 80% of the volatile solids in the dairy manure. That same group of contractors, many of them local, have combined to form a company called Aligned Digesters, and we're now in the process of proposing 4 San Joaquin Valley anaerobic digester projects, 1 in neighboring Merced County, 2 here in Madera County, and 1 in Kings County. And part of the process that CDFA and the state of California has asked us to do is to make sure we reach out to the political and the community stakeholders to answer questions and address concerns that might arise. And so I'm here today to offer our services and sharing information and to let everyone know that we're having 2 public meetings here in Madera County at the Galloway Room of the Public Library, Friday, June 16th from 6:30 to 8, and Wednesday, June 21st from 6:30 to 8. And we're also hosting a digester tour at our tour in Kings County, and at our digester in Kings County in Hanford on Saturday, June 17th. You can tell by the wave of my voice, I'm an engineer. I don't do a lot of this stuff. But anyway, we will be serving dairy, snacks, ice cream, cheese, etc. And we thank the community for its ongoing support of the agricultural nature of the community and the dairy industry. And we wanted to let everyone know the efforts that we're making and answer any questions or concerns individuals might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
A tour of a digester sounds like Jonah and the whale, you know. Going into
cool. I seen when they first brought him into Merced, the first one. I went to it.
It's pretty amazing.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Eric Fleming, County Administrator, and it's my pleasure this morning to introduce our new Director of Social Services, Ms. Deborah Martinez. She is a local gal. She's a Madera County resident, and she comes to us with a lot of years of county management experience, and so she's going to hit the ground running.
I just want to thank you very much for this opportunity. I look forward to doing some positive things in our community and partnering with our other departments to do even more. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
morning, Mr. Chairman, and the rest of the board. John Markle, Chief Investigator with the District Attorney's Office. I would like to introduce to you, come on up, Bill, quit being shy. Bill, this is Bill Spears. He's the newest supervising investigator for the DA's office. I appreciate you guys letting me grow over the last few years. Bill comes to us from Madera PD, where he spent 19 years, did various different assignments, and recently, the past 4 years, Bill's been a BART police officer, or BART sergeant, excuse me, and he's been in charge of a couple specialty units since he's been there. So I'm glad to have him on board.
Welcome, Bill.
Members of the board, everybody, thank you. It's been my pleasure coming back. Was in Madera for 20 years. Got some new experiences outside, up in the Bay. Definitely wasn't Madera County. First opportunity I had to come back, I jumped on it. So it's going to be my pleasure giving you my everything, like I've given it, the city and then the Bay Area. So I am all yours.
Awesome.
Welcome back. Thank you.
Welcome back.
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking forward to some articles by Bill. He used to write articles for the Madera Tribune, and so I'm sure that you still have those skills, so looking forward to it.
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, I got two things. First, I wanted to thank publicly Hub Wash for stepping in as our interim Department of Social Service Director that Deborah has taken over now. And I'd like to have us write a letter of thank you to him, and signed by Max, if that would work. And the other one is that Betty Lynn, DA's wife, is retiring from the Sierra Star after 23 years of working there. She's always lived up there. She was raised in North Fork, so I just wanted to give her a thank you and maybe write a letter.
We can do that.
You can do that, and you sign it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Let's open and close in memory of, we have a list of names, Mr. Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, it seems like it's been a rough week here, last week and a half. First of all, I went to two services. A couple died a couple of weeks ago. It was Brad Ditton's dad, Dick, and Larry Van Amen, both from Oakhurst. Dick Ditton lived up here since the 40s, and Larry Van Amen had property up here since the 50s, so they were both great men. But last week we lost some very, very important people. Norman Kerr from Chowchilla. Spent many years with him on the Resource Conservation District boards, long before I was ever a supervisor. Roger Schneider in Oakhurst. He worked for PG&E. I've known him for 40 years, and he passed away Thursday night. I can't tell you all the stuff he's done for Oakhurst. And any way you can think of it, all the beautiful murals that's painted up in Oakhurst, he funded a bunch of them and headed that team to do that. Then two of my longtime high school friends that we went to school together, Ron Severe, who was a air controller at Fresno for years, and he was the chairman of the Corsco Resource Conservation District for many years. When I first got on it, he was the chairman. Probably 20 years ago. He passed away also Thursday night. And then Brian Wilhite, who we were the same class in high school, and he lived at Fish Camp most of his life. And he actually won the award. He graduated from Sierra because he lived up by Fish Camp. We used to ride the bus from there all the way down to Friant, back over to Sierra High School, 2.5 hours one way. And he got the award for the most mileage. He went around the world about 3 times just going to high school. So he passed away in his services this Saturday at the Queen's Inn, and it's just some very, very, very good friends have passed away. It's been a rough week, so, and then I got this hoarseness in me, so I don't know what that's from. Not from crying too much, I hope.
Supervisor Frazier?
I'm going to defer to Supervisor Rogers first, and then I'll piggyback on his.
I wanted to mention Norman Kerr as well. One of the things I remember about Norman, he brought me a jar of homemade olives that he and just kind gentleman, and I've known their family for 30-plus years, so a big loss for the Chowchilla community. But I also wanted to mention Phyllis Gersh this morning, and Phyllis passed away this last week, the wife of Gary Gersh, a huge contributor to this community. In fact, their home was on a regular tour of notable homes in the region. People from Fresno would even come and tour their home, and they always had events to raise funds for various causes at their place, and Phyllis was a big part of that. This pin I'm wearing right here this morning from Rotary International is a Paul Harris Fellow, and I'm not a Rotarian, but I was given this pin.
I am. For years.
I think it's a great organization, and I was given this pin because of the efforts of Phyllis Gersh. She wanted me to have it, wanted me to be recognized for my work internationally, and she saw to it that I received it. So when I wear this pin, I think of her and her husband, and she will truly be missed in this community.
I obviously wanted to let David, as he's very close with the family, go first on that. But Phyllis was just a wonderful woman, as warm as they come. Just love their entire family. They've done so much for the community, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the Gersh family. And then I think in the vein of what Joseph brought up today, I think we should open and close in the memory of the soldiers and civilians that were lost at D-Day to make us all free, especially after last week, which was Memorial Day. I think it's important that we honor those soldiers that have lost their lives defending our freedoms. So I think we should open and close today in their honor as well.
Very good.
Okay, the consent calendar, agenda item 5.
There's no questions. I'll
I've got one.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to discuss item U.
You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. In this particular item, it's consideration of approval or receipt of unanticipated revenues, and it says it's a Measure T reimbursement to the maintenance of roads, and it's necessary to comply with the accounting charges and reporting Measure T funds. And so the backup says, due to recent findings, it's been discovered Measure T funds should be reported differently. And so I guess I'd like to just kind of hear how that happened and, what the circumstances were behind the allocation initially.
It's actually U and
U, V, W, and X, and there's several of them that are the same.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Adel Kayat, Public Works Director. Thank you for bringing this item up, Supervisor. Yes, you can see there's plenty of items. Basically, they are housekeeping of all practices that the county has always, that's how we always budgeted our districts. And then with new findings with the auditor's office, they said we should do it differently. So that required us to come in and do these transfers. And from now on in the new budgets, they will be done in that new manner, corrected manner.
Okay. So
just historically, that's how it was done.
Okay. So it's basically it's an accounting method to readjust and correct. Okay.
Correct. It will lead to ease of, audit.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I do. I think Tom had them too.
Supervisor.
Yeah. Item A, B, and AC, we want to change that language. So it's not a grant, as it say, grant or loan?
Yes, good morning again. Yes, Supervisor Wheeler. Back in October, we were informed by the state that we qualify for a grant to do a feasibility study for both water treatment, wastewater treatment system for MD6 and MD7. So we're using this opportunity to apply for this planning phase, but just from new information that we're receiving, this basically a possibility of a grant or a loan, or a combination of grant and a loan.
So when we make the motion, we got to make sure we add that to that.
Yes, if we would just say a grant or loan or combination.
Right. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I interrupt for a second? I'm going to have to leave. I am required to be at this funeral. I'm going to be doing the music, so it's important that I'm there for Phyllis Gersh. But I just wanted to say I hope my colleagues will, I know they'll do a good job on the stuff that's before us this morning. I have an item that I'm bringing forth that I'm not going to be able to present or talk about, but
we'll make sure.
Looks like it's going to go down in flames.
Looks like it.
But I'm sorry about this, but you know, some things are more important, and this is one of them. And so I'm going to be excusing myself right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe we can get through this meeting quickly today. On K&L, Von, is this cost effective? A lot of times University of Phoenix can be a little more expensive. Why wouldn't we go with Fresno State? Or
we do, actually. So all these agreements are basically to allow the universities or the training programs to come in and observe, job shadow, provide us with an extra pair of hands. And so we have Fresno State, we have Pacific, we have a variety. We have national.
Could we get a break for our employees to go to these places, for letting them come in and then observe us?
I'll bring that up.
I think that'd be a good idea.
It is, University of Phoenix is very expensive.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. That was it.
Okay, we'll take it out to the public. Any public comments on this matter?
Hello, good morning. Tracy Kitty, Madera County Treasurer Tax Collector. On items AD and AE, I'd like to draw your attention to this is where the special districts are issuing some debt. They have a revenue stream that is guaranteed by a grant, state grant, and this is really the first time we are doing what we tried to start in 2012. So what the district does is they have a funding stream. They issue debt. The county treasurer purchases the debt, and we can put that into our portfolio. And it's at a good interest rate. It's at whatever our pool is plus 50 basis points. So, and it's to help them, assist them at a lower rate than they could get if they went outside.
So we're investing in our community.
We're investing in ourselves, right? And that's what I've been wanting to do for a long time, and we finally kind of rolled it out yesterday. We actually had a little walkthrough with the auditor's office and special districts and the engineering to say, okay, now this is what we're going to do here. Then you do this. Then it comes back into the auditor's office. Then they, record it, and we do the same. So. I'm very excited about this. I hope that we can do more for internal financings. And, of course, as always, the treasurer does not lend money. We buy debt. So, anyway, thank you.
Very good.
Okay, I make a motion we approve.
Back to the board for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar with the corrections on A, B, and AC to include grant, loan, or combination.
Second.
We have first and second. Roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0 with one away.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to go to public hearing?
Yes, at this time we'll close our regular session and go into a public hearing.
Public hearing, Board of Equalization, hearing of objections to assessment of lands by the assessor of the Chowchilla Water District and resolution setting tax rate for fiscal year 2017-2018.
Who's giving it?
Anybody going to speak?
I don't see anybody.
Who's this?
Who's giving it?
Here?
Norm Ahmad.
Who's giving this one, the 6A?
Fred, I think you are.
Okay, so move to approve.
Norman in the House.
This is presented to us by the Chowchilla Water District, and normally we have someone from the district here, but I don't see anyone here today.
There is.
Anybody from the Water District, Chowchilla?
This is your item, Norm, now.
Chairman.
6A.
Chairman, members of the board, you sit as the Board of Equalization, and you've been asked to set the assessment rate. And so this item is a request for you to set the assessment rate at $1.50 per $100 of assessed land. It doesn't look like there are any representatives from the Chowchilla Water District, but certainly you can ask if there's any testimony from the public on this item, either for or against.
Your board may still want to question Mr. Allender since it is his last official board meeting.
I think we should.
He could tap dance one more time.
Sure, I do have an item later I can
let's
tap
do the
dance
Norm
on,
Shuffle.
but I'm more than happy to do it now. I actually do believe this is an annual item, Chairman, members of the board. I do believe this is an annual item that happens, yes.
Yes, it is.
I want to open it to the public, and then I'll make a motion.
We'll open it to the public. Any comment from the public? If not, we'll bring it back to the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
First, second. Roll
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent.
Okay.
Okay, regular session. County Administration Department and Treasurer Tax Collector, PACE programs. 1, discussion and direction to staff regarding opting into property-assessed clean energy programs and designating the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office as the main point of contact of such programs. Discussion and consideration of approval of a resolution consenting to the inclusion of properties within the county's jurisdiction and the Golden State Finance Authority Communities Facilities District, number 2014-1, to finance renewable energy improvements, energy efficiency, and water conservation improvements, electric vehicle charging, infrastructure, and other authorized improvements. 3, discussion and consideration of approval of a resolution consenting to the inclusion of properties within the county's jurisdiction and the Golden State Finance Authority AB 811 PACE program to finance renewable energy generation, energy and water efficiency improvements, electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and other authorized improvements.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Maria Miranda with General Services Administration. I'm also here with District 2 Chief of Staff Glenna Jarvis and our Treasurer Tax Collector, Tracy Kennedy. We have before you a two-part item regarding property-assessed clean energy or PACE financing programs. The first action seeks general direction from your board regarding opting into PACE programs and then designating the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office as the main point of contact. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Okay, let me start that over. The first action seeks general direction from your board regarding opting into PACE programs and designating the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office as the main point of contact for these programs. Should your board decide to continue opting into these programs, staff will recommend approval of 2 resolutions opting into Golden State Finance Authority's Y Green Works PACE programs. As your board is aware, California law authorizes property-assessed clean energy or PACE financing programs to address upfront costs for property owners who wish to install renewable energy or energy and water efficiency improvements to their properties. These voluntary programs allow property owners to repay loans through assessments placed on their property tax bill. The PACE liens have a super priority even over the home mortgage loan. A county or city must opt into the various PACE programs in order for the program to operate within our jurisdiction. The county currently has 2 PACE programs operating now. That is the California HERO program, as well as the Open PACE program, which is essentially an umbrella program that has multiple PACE administrators, which includes California First and Alliance NRG. Let's see. There are currently 175 properties with HERO assessments, 26 properties with Open PACE assessments, and 14 properties within the city's Y Green program. The county currently doesn't have the Y Green program. Due to concerns with consumer protections, on the August 9th, 2016 board meeting, your board determined it was best to postpone opting into any future PACE programs until Assembly Bill 2693 was signed into law. That law was signed back in September 2016, and it provided additional protections for consumers, which requires PACE providers to provide a disclosure form to property owners stating that they may be required to pay off the remaining balance of the PACE loan should they choose to refinance or sell their home. It also requires that the total mortgage-related debt and PACE financing not exceed the value of the property. And it also requires that the PACE providers give the property owner 3 days to cancel the assessment without penalty following signing the contract. There are a number of proposed bills at the state and federal level to further regulate PACE programs, and I'll turn that over to Glenna with an update there.
Glenna Jarvis, Chief of Staff for District 2. Currently, there are 2 bills at the state level. Senate Bill 242 and Assembly Bill 271. Senate Bill 242 states that if it passes, program administrators must conduct oral confirmation with at least one of the property owners prior to the contractor starting the job. And this has to be recorded in an audio format, and it cannot be a pre-recorded message. Program administrators cannot waive or defer the first payment, and the first payment takes place the fiscal year after the work is completed. It prohibits a program from offering a PACE assessment if the improvement is not permanently affixed to the property. The program administrator must establish, maintain, and make publicly available an eligible improvement list, and that is to be made public. Program administrators must not allow contractors or third parties to advertise the availability of an assessment contract or to solicit to property owners unless the contractor or third party maintains an appropriate license, local permits, and maintains the required bond and insurance coverage. Program administrators must not provide cash payment to a contractor or third party more than the price charged for the installation of the improvements. Must submit specific information for each PACE program to the sponsoring public agency, and they are required to provide property owners with a payment holiday on the PACE assessment for contracts entered on or after January 1, 2018. Among the support and opposition for this bill, California State Association of Counties is in support. The Association of Treasurers and Tax Collectors, they oppose this bill, and they have actually sponsored Assembly Bill 271. Assembly Bill 271 would require the notice of removal to be explicitly displayed on the secured tax roll and may include contact information. PACE assessment would be defined as, it defines the term to mean a voluntary contractual assessment or voluntary special tax that arises from a contract entered on or after January 1, 2018, pursuant to existing law which govern assessments and including the Melrose special taxes. Requires for a property subject to a PACE assessment that accrues a penalty pursuant to existing law which governs unpaid property taxes that becomes delinquent and defaulted. This would be deposited into a restricted county fund, so it would create that county fund. Prohibits a property subject to PACE assessment from being subject to an agreement wherein the authority to collect a defaulted lien based on a PACE assessment is transferred to, subject to, or contingent upon third-party approval, or unless that lien has been removed from the county's tax rolls. And this does not apply to a PACE assessment made subject to on or before January 1, 2018. Prohibits assessment removed from the county's tax rolls from accruing further penalties and interest in existing law for delinquent assessments. Requires the county to create a restricted fund to receive the monies, and requires the monies in the fund to be transferred to the delinquent tax sale trust fund for the deficit amount. And should this cost money, the state mandates will determine if it does cost them, it would be reimbursed to the county. The California Association of County Treasurers and Tax Collectors stated in their statement of support that the proposed changes will protect taxpayers and those who rely on local government services by removing defaulted PACE liens from the property tax bill, will reduce the chances counties, schools, and other local governmental entities and the state will lose revenue because of properties with PACE assessments being sold at tax-defaulted land sale prices below the original minimum bid amount. It will also ensure that the property tax bill is not being used to inappropriately enrich private parties at the expense of consumers who may not realize that tax code-related penalties and interest will apply to their delinquent PACE assessments. On the other hand, Renovate America states removing delinquent installments from the secured tax rolls changes PACE from a secured financing instrument, increases consumer cost, and reduces the availability of PACE financing. This would increase foreclosures of property owners. The legislation would prohibit contractual subordination, limiting homeowner options at the time of sale or refinance. These two bills are in committees right now. They have passed out of their respective houses. The other two PACE-related bills are at the federal level, and both of them, we've got H.R. 1958 and Senate Bill 838, and they are just amending the Truth in Lending Act to include the retrofit loans. They're not currently in that act. So, that's it.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah. So you're saying that CSAC was in favor of 242, but the Treasurers Group wasn't? And then on 271, they're both in support of it? 271?
CSAC has not taken a position yet on 271.
Who hasn't? CSAC?
CSAC has not.
Well, before we do these things, shouldn't we wait to see what these bills do, even the federal ones?
That's at your discretion.
I mean, you guys are doing a study. I mean, Maria, you guys, Tracy, too.
Hi.
I don't trust any of these.
Tracy Kenny, Madera County Treasurer, Tax Collector.
I think this is important that it's not just our board and you that fight all the time. Apparently,
See?
It's statewide. It's just
I do not fight with the board, Mr. Frazier.
I
think that you've been misinformed.
we love each other. I know.
Anyway, good morning. Now, this, oddly enough, this is this sheet that Glenna was reading was prepared by our lobbyist, Paul Yoder, which is the same exact lobbyist County Association, County Treasurer, Tax Collectors have, Karen Lang, same firm.
And that's 271?
271 and 242.
Yeah.
So this is was a synopsis of where PACE is and where it might go. And the pending legislation.
What I'm asking, why should we vote on this now and we don't even know where it's going to go?
Well, I think I have to agree with you.
Well, I think we ought to table it until they make a decision up in Sacramento and Fed.
Well,
crickets.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank you for that. I know that Supervisor Rogers has been, a big proponent of this for a long time.
Here.
Yeah, I know. And I think in essence, I think the intention of these PACE and HERO programs are good, for energy efficiency, solar, dual pane windows, things like that. The bill that the county treasurers found a sponsor for, which is the 271, what it speaks to a lot is the delinquencies. Okay, right. All the people that are for the 242 are the vendors, right? I mean, CSAC is not, but all these people, I'm sure, are associate vendors. First, California, Natural Resources, Renew Financial, Renovate America, Vote Solar.
Don't they take advantage of some low-income people on some of these things, too?
Well, I mean, I can't speak to that. I don't know. I'm not out in the field. I don't know exactly what's going on. But I do know that the interest rates are high that they charge, but I think they are high across the board. I don't think it's just in Madera County. I think it's it's their interest rate. The thing that the county treasurers were looking at is we do not feel like we should become the collection agency for private enterprise.
Right.
And these are private enterprise. So what happens if they put a assessment on your tax bill and you don't pay it December and April, then as the law states right now, and it goes delinquent, that assessment will earn 18% a year, 1.5% a month. And that interest rate, that delinquency, would go towards these vendors, right? And they could theoretically leave it on the tax bill until over 5 years, and then we go to sell it. Now, of course, that kind of an assessment is going to increase the minimum bid on our end to sell that property a lot. So that's one thing that we are addressing in 271 is that once they go delinquent, that we notify the auditor's office and that they would strip them off the tax bill and that they would send those delinquencies back to the third party, and then it was up to them to collect them. And so then we don't have their collection activity, and then they collect it at their own rate. So that was really our big push on 271. So, I mean, in Madera County, we've had, I don't know, Maria, what was the stats? I mean, we put out maybe 200 and some assessments, and we had 3 delinquencies?
About 200. I know we had the one delinquent that was close to a tax sale, but they were able to redeem that parcel. So no full-on
program?
I'm sorry?
Is that on the HERO program?
Yes. Yeah.
Was that HERO?
Well, it was CSCDA. Oddly enough, CSCDA...
Oh, that was open base.
Yeah. They put an assessment on the tax roll that was already in default. So somebody missed it, I mean, it happens. But the guy came in and paid, so that one's a non-issue at this point.
Right, but it could have been.
Could have been.
Supervisor Frazier? So I see you coming forward. I'd like to hear what's going on in the field from our Association of Realtors of how this affects them, and if either one of these helps, because I still want to be able to help people that need to put on solar or do some energy efficiencies to their home, but still have the everything in place so that we're not collecting for them, and that they have all the proper notifications and they know what they're getting into and what are the best practices. So maybe you can speak to some of those things.
Okay. Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Myra Torres. I live here in Madera, and I'm the Madera Association's Government Affairs Director. I handed out information that says 12 problems homeowners may have with PACE and HERO programs, and really what this is that it is a loan that is going to be assessed on a homeowner. And some of the major problems is that there is no full appraisal that is being done. The buyer is not fully vented. The homeowner is not fully vented to see if they can qualify for this, if they're going to be able to pay for it. So what's happening is that it's so wide open and so loose that we see that the homeowners that have the equity may lose their properties. And this is kind of like a reminder of what happened when it was so easy for everybody to get this financing that was really, and a lot of people lost their homes, and it's just unfortunate. So this is one of the red flags, if you may, that we see that we need to be able to, the programs that we want to support for green and for energy saving, the realtors are behind those programs. What we want to make sure is that the homeowners understand what they're doing, and if they're thinking about selling this property down the road, it's going to affect them in the sale and or the refinance if they want to go ahead and do that. And that's clearly stated in the document that you just mentioned. I'm just going to go over, I just handed over a sheet. And what this does is one of the problems, the primary ones, is that there's predatory lending. And that's accessible to our homeowners. There's the structure of the property tax assessments, which lots of problems that are arising. That wasn't really thought out at the time that this was enacted or put in place. And we are not the only county that's facing this or opposing this. Kern County is also working on reacting or pulling back all of the programs to a stop. And
I think that was thought out.
as far as the details that we are setting forth legislation, as far as the late fees and the collecting of the late fees, so all of these, and this is why we're still waiting for the legislation to come through, to be able to find all of these little details as far as that. One of the other things that we have is that there's a super priority lien, the financing oversight, and proof of the value of the property to make sure that it sustains that loan that's happening, and truly the cost of the unit and the cost, is it really truly an energy efficient? Is it going to save them money? Is it to the homeowner? And the high interest rates where there's other options of financing for the homeowner. If somebody wants to have a solar system or energy saving, if they know that they have different options of financing this item, they would be able to make a wiser decision for themselves. And at times, the person that comes to the door is not fully informing the residents.
Right.
And I have a story, if I may share. We have a property on Honda Avenue here in our county, and this was somebody that came to the door and sold a $60,000 solar system to this elderly gentleman. He was on equipment to keep him, respiratory equipment and different things. At this time, during this first year, he passed away, and this property became a probate sale. This item with the solar system has created delays in having to address the probate and hasn't been able to close yet. The probate attorney was able to renegotiate that contract of $60,000, and they went to $30,000. They finally settled at $18,000 that needs to be paid at close of escrow. So this is just one story that we have within our association, and there's many others. You obviously had a couple of questions. I'd like to see if I may answer those for you.
I got one, as you do. I got another question. I know.
At one of the previous meetings that I had presented a grid that showed the upfront fees, also the interest rates, and the closing cost, if you may, of the loan. And it showed the Hero program and Y-Green and a few other companies. So it shows them at a equally comparable format that might be able to do that. And I know that we as the realtors want to be able to have consumer outreach. And if we may be able to have something like that, I can take that to our state association and see if we can get something formatted by them and by their attorneys, or our attorneys at the CAR level, and be able to bring something forward to our counties. So that's something that we can be proactive about and be able to really inform our customers and our homeowners.
Supervisor Wheeler? Yeah. Myra, we had the same concerns with the Hero program, if you remember. And right now, these bills haven't passed. There's no way I'm going to vote for something like this that we don't even know what they're going to dictate to us. And these people prey on the poor people, and I can't stand that. It's easy to get solar right now. I got it didn't cost me $1 over a year and a half ago now. And you don't have to finance your house away to do this. I did not have to do that. We got the Hero program already, and I don't even trust that one. And I just And I'm ready to make a motion to put this aside until some bills pass and tell us what's going to happen. I'm not going to jeopardize us and our citizens on anything like this. There's no rhyme or reason that we have to do this.
I represent the east side, and it's a low income. I mean, you know that. You sell a lot of homes over there. And people are prone to get into these programs. They don't read the small print, as you know. So this program, they offer you a lot up front. But then when it comes to paying in the future, things go wrong, and these people are put out in the streets. It's partly their fault also, because they get into a lot of these programs not knowing all the facts, and they think it's going to be free. Now, everybody wants something free, but no, these programs have to be paid back. And I can't buy into this until more ifs and ands are answered so that we know what we're getting involved, if we do get involved. Supervisor?
I agree with that. I do think in the actual 7A1, making the treasurer tax collector the main point of contact for these programs, I think is a good idea. I think that should be put as part of if you're going to do a motion, since she's the one that has to be dealing with it anyway.
Is that okay? Tracy? Hell yes it is. Look at that face.
Tracy, how do you feel about that, what the supervisor just said?
Well, since I'm here and I do care, I guess it seems logical.
It's part of it. It seems logical.
It does seem logical.
I give you a bad time, but I trust you.
I know. I have your phone number. I can have you review some
People
documents.
trust you, or they wouldn't elect you. And if they didn't trust you, you'd get ousted.
Yeah.
So.
Really in the tax collector's office, and just not in my office, it's up and down the state of California, the tax collectors are the taxpayer advocate, because we're the ones that see the taxpayers. They come into our offices and they can't pay, or they don't understand their tax bill, or they're crying, and it's so close to Christmas and ruining their life. And, we hear that all the time. And it's really, and that, of course, that any kind of taxpayer activity really precedes laws, right? That's how regulations come to pass. It's because we see a need, we see that something isn't booked right, it's not going right, or it needs to be updated, and that creates new laws. And so that's one of the things that we did with our legislation, is that we saw that it came through, and like I said, I think the intention of the program is very good. I think there's some unintended consequences, and that's what we're trying to do in our association, and it's statewide. So, but I understand. Yes, I know the treasurer, tax collector seems to be pretty interested in this.
No, another comment?
No, it's county council does.
Well, they're up there. Okay, you don't want to say anything?
No, I'm done.
Okay, county council?
Sure. Chairman, members of the board, I would just add that we are finalizing a legal opinion that looks like there are some fees that can be charged for the upfront costs, whether it's a treasurer tax collector or general services or the county council department, for processing these requests. We believe it's legal under the government code, and if the board decides to delay any vote on this, it would give us time to finalize that legal opinion, go through the process of finding the exact cost for that work, and we certainly can't make a profit, but bringing that back to the board for its consideration.
Who would be paying those fees? Obviously it gets passed on to the end user that's already being
the homeowner.
Well, that's something we're looking at too, but at this point it would be the companies that would come forward and ask for the board to consider adding the program to the list.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, there is a lot of upfront work that staff does to prepare these to bring forward to you for consideration, so that would be fantastic if there were a fee in place to cover those costs. I think it would be a prudent decision to postpone opting into any additional programs until the legislation pans out. We do already have 2 programs operating, so it's not as if there aren't any opportunities for that type of financing in the county. But we do have a number of PACE providers here today, so I don't know if you want to open it up to allow them to come forward. We have a Y-Green rep, and I believe another rep from a different PACE provider in the audience.
Well, at this time, let's take it out to the public. Any public comment on this matter?
Good morning, everybody. My name is George Apostolopoulos. I'm with Y Green Energy Fund. Happy to be here. I wanted to take just to point out a few things. First of all, the way that the PACE programs are currently working at this time are fantastic. There's over 250 jurisdictions in California that are participating in the Y Green Works PACE program. And what does that all mean? Well, the consumer protections are in place and have been in place, such as currently, actually one of the most recent things that we've done going into probably the latter part of last year is that for homeowners that actually, when we speak to the homeowners directly, which when they're applying for financing, we do what are called 100% confirmed term calls, right, which is already in the legislation on 242, which is going through, I think, committee right now. I think is where it's at. But we've been doing those things. And so the property owners that call in for financing, they know what they're getting into, and we have all those measures in place, even through our 22, 23-page financial disclosures that we go through all the key points with them. Now, having said that, what is all that translated to from a job perspective, from an economic stimulus? There's the argument that counties shouldn't be bill collectors for private enterprise.
Right.
Well, private enterprise is actually able to create these jobs without taxpayer dollars and stimulate the economy without taxpayer dollars. And so when you look at in California, the Y Green Works PACE program has helped create over 9,000 jobs, $1.5 billion economic stimulus. More than that, too, it's given over 20,000 property owners and then some the choice of using our program. Now, whether we think that they should do it or not, or whatever it might be, it's still that person's responsibility to make their own decision on what they want to do to finance those improvements. But having the option available is just like everything else. We have multiple banks that we can choose from. We have multiple restaurants, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it all comes down to an option. They don't have to do it if they don't want to. Nobody's forcing them into PACE. And the other thing about the PACE industry is not soliciting the so-called predatory lending practices and or targeting senior citizens that can't afford or whatnot. We got to distinguish the two, because you're talking about rogue contractors. And no matter what happens, no matter how well we police the contractors ourselves, which we actually have to vet ourselves, they have to be licensed and bonded, and on a daily basis we are looking at these contractors and seeing what they're doing, and they have to renew their certification every year with us, including our contractor compliance department. The contractors that are out there that do not represent the program are just kicked out, plain and simple. There are steps, of course. A contractor might submit a contract, and we'll look at, this pricing on this HVAC unit it's a little bit outside the box. Why are you charging so much for this HVAC unit? So we'll speak to the contractor, and those things happen every now and then, but we bring those things in line. But if contractors continue to do these things, they're gone from the program. Our compliance department, for contractor compliance department, takes care of that. So that's something that we've been doing all along as far as trying to protect the consumers. So the property owners have a choice here. And what I wanted to do is, Kevin Haber, who's with the Mortgage House, is with me today. And I'd like you guys to hear from him on the transactions, on how this works within the realtor community, how it works with mortgages, et cetera, et cetera. So for that, I'd like to have him speak real quick.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Kevin Hauber. I'm Senior Loan Officer with the Green Division of the Mortgage House. We have offices throughout Central and Southern California. I've been an advocate for energy efficiency and water efficiency financing for a long time. I was involved in realtor, contractor, and public outreach and education efforts when we brought this program on in San Luis Obispo County, and I've been asked to do that same kind of work on a statewide basis so that people can learn how to be able to combine mortgage products, non-mortgage products, PACE loans, and other kinds of energy financing to do the kinds of projects that we're talking about today. So far, we've presented this information in a variety of situations. We've presented for the Pismo Coast and San Luis Obispo Association of Realtors, in Santa Barbara and in Salinas, and we're looking forward to having a chance to do the same thing here locally in this area. I have compiled some information that's samples of what we present when we go out to the realtor and the contractor communities to be able to show how this works. This information I'll pass on to the clerk. It includes the legislation, the building code changes that have occurred that make energy and water efficiency financing necessary. There are matrices that go through a whole variety of incentives and financing options, including PACE, including mortgage products, including non-mortgage products, HELOCs, the whole variety. We have examples of preliminary title report items, so it helps the realtors learn what to look for when it comes to things like solar leases and PACE liens, so that when they go to list and sell property, they can help homeowners with that. And we have information on the subordination process that FHA, VA, and Fannie Mae all have in place. And then there's contact information also for the PACE and the solar lease providers, so that they can make ready contact right at the front of a transaction. So this is the kind of information that we're trying to get out to the real estate community, to the contractors, to the general public, so that there's a better base of knowledge for this kind of work to be done, and people can really draw from a whole array of choices when it comes to financing their energy efficiency improvements. Thank you, and I'll pass this on to the clerk.
Do you use HERO too?
HERO is one of the PACE providers statewide in California. They're one of the programs that use. Do I?
Yeah.
I am a mortgage lender myself. So I'm doing mortgage products, but typically what happens is that people need a whole variety of products in terms of their financing needs. It's typically cheapest in the long run to build in whatever kind of improvements someone can into their mortgage, but oftentimes there are needs over and above that something like a PACE loan or other local energy financing or water efficiency financing can fill. And that's exactly the kind of outreach that we're trying to do to make people aware of that. Does that answer your question?
No.
What would you want?
Do you use HERO?
Do I personally?
Yeah,
No.
your company, not you personally. Your company. You're naming all these different things, but you kind of skipped around HERO program.
Well, I don't work for the HERO program or work with the HERO program. I show people how to use options, including programs like HERO.
Have you ever put a HERO lien, coupled it with one of your mortgage products?
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, we have subordinated HERO loans amongst other PACE loans with the products that we, and that's exactly the kind of process that I try and show both consumers and the people in the real estate industry how to do.
Okay.
But I don't make PACE loans myself. They are a different kind of lender than what we do.
Right.
But I show how these products work together.
Okay. Okay. Does that?
And then Robbie with the HERO program is actually here too, so he'd like to say a few words.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Board of Supervisors. I just wanted to come today. I know we're obviously not on agenda, but we are obviously available to your constituents, and so I wanted to make myself available.
What's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert Bendorf from the HERO program, Market Development Manager. I work for HERO representing all the communities here in the Central Valley, so up through Sacramento and such. And so being that PACE is kind of a hot item, I thought I would come and introduce myself. Boards are ever changing and things, so just want to make sure. I do work with Maria in the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office. I think it is a good idea to have that line of communication open. I know that we have shared emails on certain constituents that are in the counties, unincorporated areas, as well as the whole county. And so I think it is a good idea. I just really want to make myself available, introduce myself. I mean, when this board approved the HERO program, really when it comes to PACE, the benefit that is there is that 1 in 6 homeowners every year will make an energy or an improvement to their home that affects their energy or water consumption, right? And we hope that they choose the most economical option, but we want them to get the best bang for their buck, right? And so with offering PACE, when they're looking at kind of a reactive, something broke situation, they're usually stuck with high-interest credit cards or simply lack of cash to pay for that upgrade. So here in Madera County, actually 382 residents have used the program, and really that is accounted for with those upgrades. You're looking at actually over $19 million saved for those homeowners in their electric utility bills. So it's just a huge benefit for your constituents. I actually have all of the data available readily to all of you supervisors if you would so choose. I can get you all set up with that, and you can actually see the homeowners that are in your districts or in the city that you may want to do a little more research as into who exactly is using the program. But yeah, I just really want to make myself available to answer any questions. I know George from Y Green referenced confirmed terms calls because, Mr. Chair, you're absolutely correct. Getting them to understand everything is really the most important part of it. We have been doing confirmed terms call for quite some time now, where we do every time someone signs up for HERO, in the middle of the application process, they have to speak to a HERO representative. And I don't know if the credit cards and all the financing that I've done where they require that you actually speak to someone so you understand exactly what you're doing. And on those calls, we confirm products, contractors, everything. So if there is something that falls through the cracks, we're at least doing our utmost due diligence to make sure that we are taking care of that homeowner. And we have an additional follow-up phone call for members of the community that are over the age of 64. Unfortunately asking, kind of loaded questions, right? Asking things like, that they're getting a solar project. Maybe you ask if they're excited for their new HVAC unit, seeing if that can stimulate something. I know that personally, my grandpa at the age of 71 would not comprehend something like this. And so I just would, I'm happy with how the program is going. I'm happy with the Senate Bill 242 that actually was approved by the Senate last week. It is actually over on its way to the Assembly right now, which we'll probably see a vote here in the next coming weeks or so. But we expect that to be approved, which just will further enhance the protections that are currently done by the HERO program right now. But yeah, just wanted to make myself available, and yeah, I'll leave my information.
Robbie,
call me and happy to help.
If this PACE passes, are you going to use that too?
If PACE passes, well, I live in Placer County, and
I don't care where you live.
Oh,
you're using HERO, you said. You're a HERO representative.
Yeah.
So are you going to use PACE if they pass it?
PACE if it passes. Well, I'm sorry.
The PACE program. I mean, we're talking about the PACE program today, not the HERO program.
Yeah.
Are you going to use the PACE program in your stuff when you go out to the people?
I'm not quite understanding your question. Would I personally use PACE on my home?
Personally, your company, will they promote PACE products, their dollars for your customers?
I think there might be so PACE is simply just like the term. It's property assessed clean energy.
Yeah.
HERO and Y Green are PACE providers, right? So that's pretty much all that the programs are, is just PACE. So the 382 homeowners I referenced here in Madera County, those are all homeowners that have used PACE.
HEROES is the company that...
Think of PACE as mortgage. Wells Fargo offers a mortgage. Bank of America.
So why does anybody want PACE then?
PACE is
this new law. I mean, why do we want to do that if we got HERO already? You guys are
HERO uses PACE. The legislation is to start to regulate the PACE program more. Is that
HERO as an umbrella?
As an umbrella, right? Not.
Supervisor, if I may. So the PACE programs are already in effect. They're already part of state law. So PACE is just a general term for these types of programs. Then there's various PACE providers. HERO is one of the providers, Y Green, Open PACE, they're various providers. So we've already opted into HERO and Open PACE. So those are the only two PACE programs that can operate within the jurisdiction. Today we were asking for just general direction on opting into future PACE programs, so we would have additional programs operating within our jurisdiction. And one of those programs is Y Green. So they're all PACE, but they're just different. They're offered by different providers.
Mm-hmm.
And then the legislation is just further fine-tuning the requirements that these providers have to follow.
Okay.
Did that help answer? I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Not at all.
Well, I'll leave my information.
You mentioned you had over 300 customers here in Madera, right?
382.
Out of the 300 or 300, excess of 300, how many have had problems with their loans?
I'm not aware of any off the top of my head. I know that
I think 3 were mentioned here previously.
I'm sorry?
Out of the 300 some, I think you mentioned 3.
I'm not specific.
You don't have that information?
No,
Okay.
I would have to look at it. I know that most of the time our promoter scores, refer to a friend, those kind of situations is usually, I think in the county it's 9 point something out of 10. Would recommend it. But as far as having issues, I mean, I'm not fully aware of exactly who it would be, so I apologize. But I can definitely get that. I can, of course, get you that information. I can have it to you by the end of the day.
Tracy's got it right behind you.
Oh, good.
Hi, Tracy Kitty, Madera County Treasurer, Tax Collector. 1.
Okay.
1. And they haven't paid their second installment.
Okay.
So if you want their phone number, no, I'm just kidding.
Okay. No, and usually those are sent over to us, and we are able to follow up. And even on like the tax bill, right, we make sure that there is our phone number is on that line item. So that our information is on that line item for that tax bill. So trying to.
We have a question from Supervisor Poitras.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, it's just more of a comment. Number one, regardless of, what we do here today, I think my big concern is with the taxpayer dollar in terms of providing services for collection of delinquent bills and so forth. I mean, that's myself as a taxpayer, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going towards, recovering payments and foreclosures and things of that sort, and extra responsibilities with our Treasurer's Department. So that's number one. The second thing is I don't think we're going to see many issues with the PACE program in this market. Since 2009, 2010, we've had a, increasing market, things dumped in 7, 8, 9. It's when things start going the other direction, that's when you start seeing the problems. Right now, it doesn't surprise me that there's only been, a couple of issues. But, let's say in a couple of years, we hit, we've had a 7-year expansion now, and typically those things don't last beyond. This is quite a long recovery. And I would suspect at some point, we're going to plateau and maybe have some kind of recession. And that's, again, where these issues will come up. Sorry, Tracy, but, hate to deliver the bad news, but it's just economic cycles. It's just the way it is. And so when it gets to that point, I just don't want an increased burden on our tax collectors department and extra fees and extra people we have to hire for these issues. So that's my big concern. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fair concern, right? I mean, to be completely honest, right? I wasn't a homeowner or anything. I wasn't that financially obligated when the recession happened, but I completely understand that point. And I think this is when you come to lending, right? It's something that becomes invited in. What the unfortunate part is, a lot of times lending is what drives the economy, right? To thrive and keep those 7 years of progress, right? And
I would say proper lending.
Yes,
now,
proper.
Yeah, that's my day job.
Let's define improper.
I've been in banking now for 38 years. I'm a commercial lender, so I understand completely what lending's all about. But what happened in the early 2000s is exactly what we want to avoid, because you had lenders going way beyond what they should have done. I'm surprised more people didn't end up in jail. It was a perfect storm of fraud that was occurring in the entire system. So what we want to make sure is we're not part of a system like that and promote that. So But I understand all about lending and what it does and so forth. You don't want to over-obligate somebody. What you want to do is give them the tools so they can move forward and make money and employ people. Thank you.
And I think you can understand this too. Ever since PACE started, a lot of the requirements is to make sure that the homeowner does not get in over their head. And some of the generic requirements that's been around since 2008, 2009, actually 2010 specifically, was that you cannot exceed 100% loan to value. So when you are choosing to do a HERO project, you cannot go over that 100% LTV, and also you cannot lend over 10% of that property's value as well. So even if you have, the means, you own half of your property on a $400,000 home, it does not just simply mean you can go out and get a $200,000 solar farm placed on your property and then have that tax obligation.
Is that with a full assessment or value appraisal?
Appraisal, yeah.
I keep thinking of it as our office, but is it a full appraisal with that, or is that just off of the tax roll what the value of the house is? Do you have to do it based on? Do you have to have 10% equity to be able to get that 10%?
So again, 10% equity is an immediate qualification. So if you just got into your home, you say you put a new buyer home 1% down, something like that, you would not qualify for the program essentially. But we pull the price of the home, the assessed value, from multiple different sites. I mean, I forget the name specifically, but some of you may be familiar with it's like Zillow. And then county records, things like that, as just general ideas as to what the property value would be worth. I know I've spoken to homeowners that say, their property is worth more, and so we only...
usually when they went on to Zillow, and Zillow is
all
over the place. That thing is ridiculous.
Yeah, right. So they usually, I've dealt with homeowners where they say their property is worth more, and so they want more. They want us to increase their lending amount. And then we offer them an opportunity to say, if you want to get a drive-by appraisal and pay more taxes, please feel free. But it is, that's something that we use for the generic pricing of the home.
Okay. Let's bring it back to the board for directions.
Okay,
Thank you so
I'm going
much.
to make a motion to table this and add, and on item 7A1, to come up with a program so that we can cover our upfront costs and our costs of managing this the whole way through before you bring it back to us.
Okay.
I'll second that.
We have a first and second roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent.
I can't wait to talk about this and table it again.
It's okay.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah.
We're still trying to make this right road to the zero road. Protect the words.
That's all that matters. That's what I want to do.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right, cool.
7B, Auditor Controller Department, Property Tax Administration. 1, presentation regarding the property tax administration costs for 2016-2017. 2, discussion and direction to set the public hearing for June 27, 2017 for the 2016-2017 property tax administration fees as required by County Code Section 3.36.050 for adoption of a resolution as required by, oops, that's redundant.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Supervisors. Jim Boyajian, Assistant Auditor Controller, retired. Here again to present the annual calculation by the Auditor Controller of the county's costs to administer the property tax system in this county. And those costs consist of the costs of the Auditor Controller, tax collector, assessor, and assessment appeals board. We combine all those costs and assess each taxing entity that enjoys a portion of the 1% Prop 13 tax in the county based on the apportionment factors that we use to give them the taxes. We also charge them our fees. And those fees totaled this year, according to the report, $3,200,000. I'll have to put my glasses on, I guess, to read this, but should put them on sooner. $3,222,000. We apportion that to all the taxing entities, and we calculate those entities that we can charge. We cannot charge the any school entities, so we end up collecting $472,000 out of $3,222,000.
400 and what? 400 and what?
476,000. Yeah. And that's the calculation that we have done, and we're presenting this to the board today for your to answer any questions you may have regarding our method, which is prescribed by state law and county ordinance. So, any questions?
Yeah. So you figured it cost us $3,222,000, and we only collected 476. Is the schools? We do that much work for the schools?
Yeah, the schools are apportioned approximately 60% of all
60%?
60% of the property taxes of the 1% in the county. And that's for a good purpose, of course, but we would like to collect more of our, recoup more of our costs, but state law does not provide that because basically the state would lose money because of the backfill.
But 60% of $3.2222 million is a lot more than, 40% is a lot more than 476,000.
Well, we also apportion a portion of the cost to ourselves, which is $469,000. We can't charge ourselves, so
okay.
It ends up being.
Don't laugh at me, huh?
Any other questions?
Any other questions? And now we'll take it out to the public.
Well, I have one more comment.
Go ahead.
I want to mention that the calculation itself is now actually performed by Catherine Nainoa in our office, who does an excellent job, and I just want to make sure she gets credit for that.
Yeah. She's going to get up and take it, see? That's the way, Catherine.
I'm Catherine Nainoa of the Auditor's Office, and I work on this and provide all the information.
Yeah. So you're the one that does all the work?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
I do all the work and have him bring it up.
He takes the credit.
Next year, you got to do it.
Right.
That's right. He's retiring, man. He's trying to.
I know.
You can't be bashful in front of us.
Thank you very much.
I move to approve item 7B.
Wait a minute. Anybody else? Does anybody else want to speak?
Nobody from the public wants to speak on the audit?
Okay, bring it back to the board for
I move
corrections.
that we approve items 7B 1 and 2 and set the public hearing for June 27th, 2017.
Second.
We have first and second. Roll call.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent.
Real quick, County Council, on that last motion on the one before this, can when I said when you bring it back, can we wait till those bills are passed? I don't want nothing until those bills are passed.
Yeah, that seemed to be the direction from the board, and so I'll make sure I communicate that with staff.
You want me to add that to the motion, or?
I don't think that's necessary, Chairman.
Because I just wanted to make sure that was out to, you would second that, I'm sure, so. Okay.
All right. Rhonda.
Item 7C, discussion and consideration of entering into a tax sharing agreement with the City of Madera.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the board. Norman Allender here with Jamie Bax, and also part of the team as well, Eric Fleming, our leader, the CAO, and Sheriff is in the backs here somewhere. So there were several members of the staff involved with this, Supervisor Wheeler, Supervisor Frazier, as the two elected officials. So what you have before you is a 3-year agreement with the city of Madera, and we have a few of the maps we can have if there's questions with the camera. So, and some of the highlights of the agreement is addresses uses of revenues for library services, exchange of property tax revenues, agreement on a sphere of influence amendment for the city, dealing with parcel maps less than 20 acres. It's very difficult for cities to grow with a bunch of 1 and 5 acre parcels to grow around. They're very expensive, so cities like to keep new parcelization above 20 acres. Again, provision of law enforcement services within Community Parkwood was negotiated between the sheriff and the city's police department. Establishment of new growth areas within the city's general plan. As many of you know, the establishment of the new growth area for Castellina was completely consistent with the MOU at the time. So the city said, well, we wouldn't want that to happen again. So that was one of the requests they made. A development within the city's urban growth boundary, which is not anything new. We've always had these provisions, what are known as the referral provisions, and we can discuss the fact that we did make sure that at 18.5 around Pilot Truck Stop and around Avenue 12, that the referral provisions were adjusted so that when we did discuss it with the city, we were able to move forward in those areas because the team felt that restricting development around 18.5 and Avenue 12 would be detrimental to the county, quite frankly. So we put a provision in there to make sure that we could still continue to develop in those areas with a meet and confer clause with the city. So we thought that was a real good notion. And then with respect to the impact to the general fund of $300,000, I won't get too into I don't even know what the word Bradley Burns sales tax means, so I won't talk too much about that, but there is a financial component to that, but I'll defer to others. We do have some maps if you wanted to see some, if there were questions, and with that, that's my presentation. Thank you.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah. One thing I think we forgot to do on item number 5 in the resolution, City County on the $50,000 for the library, I want to add a cost of living in there. We should have done that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't think they'll object to that because, I mean, it's just, we can't say leave that at $50,000 because every year it's going to go up.
Well, this is a 3-year agreement.
I know, but still,
yeah.
I'd like to add that to it. After reading it last night, if you guys don't agree, that's fine, but I just think we should have done that.
Well, yeah,
on any of it, so.
We should have. It's kind of tough now to go back and.
I don't. You think it's a deal breaker? I mean,
no, it's not a deal breaker. No, it's not a deal breaker.
I couldn't speak to that. What I can tell you is this version and the version the city, and I understand the city has it on their council agenda for tomorrow night. So if there were to be any amendments, the only thing I would suggest is that they be presented to the city forthwith. But other than that, I don't have a preference on that, and I'll defer to Eric.
Eric?
I think that it's
I don't know what we're thinking about. We've been doing everything we do, but somehow we.
that's it's late in the process.
It's definitely not a deal breaker. It's just late in the process. I mean, a COLA on $50,000. I mean, would amount over the next 2 years to like maybe $1,000, $1,500. It's just I think it just kind of bogs down the process to try and hammer out one more point, and it, especially for this was meant to be an interim agreement to get a larger agreement.
Okay, well, then let's just forget it for this. So we'll put it on. Hopefully, we'll start negotiating right now.
Yeah, we start negotiating for
That's what we said we'd do.
Since this one took 2 years and this is only 3 years, we need to start tomorrow negotiating on the new one.
Okay, and then we'll
I don't know. It sounds like Supervisor Wheeler just made the first negotiation point for the next cycle.
And the second negotiation point would be the dog catcher. So I'm going to add those to it. So,
Supervisor Frazier?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody that was involved in the process.
Yeah, no kidding.
Especially Supervisor Wheeler and Supervisor Rodriguez. Thank you for letting me come on there at the end. It was a pleasure working with the city sometimes, and I think it was a napkin deal at the beginning,
It was a napkin deal.
Huh?
It was a
napkin deal. And
and my map.
Yeah, and your map, yeah. Supervisor Wheeler and I drove up to look at the areas that were under discussion, and we're, we all drew lines in the sand and, agreed that there were some things that were off the table, some things that were on. I think what's important to note, the four people that were negotiating out the deal, I think the biggest benefactor from this is going to be Parkwood in their increased services. I also believe that allows our sheriff to be able to go into other areas. It frees them up. It may not be a dollar savings, but it's, I think, an increased service delivery that we will have in the unincorporated areas from our sheriffs. I think this is this was not an easy deal to get put together. I think this might have been the biggest thing Eric and I have ever disagreed on. But I think what was important to note about this deal is that neither Eric nor Dave Tooley were happy with it, which means that we did something right. That meant that there was a compromise somewhere there. So I just want to thank everybody in the process, Andy Medellin, Mayor Medellin, and Councilmember Will Oliver. Without them coming to the table multiple times, this would have never been done. So I think this could prove as a model of where we go and how we work with our neighboring jurisdictions.
Norm, could you add a little bit as far as the animal control? What improvements, what is figures that we're talking about over there? Is it an increase of how much? Participating?
This doesn't include anything with animal control.
Mr. Chairman, this doesn't include animal control. We have a separate agreement with the City of Madera.
We just got to. I would add that when we start negotiating for the next one for Brent and I. Yeah, if we still want it.
And we do just to remind you, board, we have an agreement in place, and the city manager and I had negotiated it a couple of years ago, and we at the time felt like we were getting our fair share as far as the service costs. But as far as new facility, is that what I think that's maybe what both of the board members are referring to? There is, that could be addressed maybe in future agreements, contributions for that.
We just got to be a partnership on it because
they participate.
Right.
Robert, Supervisor Poitras.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just simply like to thank those who participated in the process for your hard work, and it's nice to get that behind us, and we can move forward to some other even greater ventures and some things we're going to be talking about later on in the agenda. So thank you so much.
Without David here, every single person on the dais right now worked on this at one point during this time.
Well, he didn't ever, but...
I know, that's what I said. All four of us did.
Let's take it out to the public
comments.
If not, we'll bring it back for direction.
I move we approve item 7C.
Second.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, 1 absent.
Let's take a break for lunch until 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock? Okay, thank you.
Oh, right at 11:30.
Thank you, boss.
We're ready for 7D, Probation Department, discussion and consideration of approval to hire Ashley Shavira as program assistant at the east step of the salary range.
Move to approve. Yeah. I move to approve.
Second?
Second?
No. Go ahead. Good afternoon, Board of Free Probation Department. We have an employee that we hired as an extra help employee who started as a staff of the program assistant because of a combination of her prior experience in education, and now she's just here full-time. So all we're asking is that she remain at the same step, that she not be punished and be demoted down to the same step because she's going full-time.
We'll think about it.
What's that?
Still my move to approve.
Second?
Call for the vote.
Second? Is she here? No, she's not here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, one absent.
Thank you, Board.
Sorry, come back.
I got a question.
Thank you.
7E, County Administration Department, end-of-year budget adjustments. 1, discussion and consideration of approval of transfer of appropriations number 16-253 in the amount of $572,000 for various budgets in the general fund. 4 votes required. 2, discussion and consideration of approval of transfer of appropriations number 16-272 in the amount of $389,000 for various budgets in the general fund and county local revenue fund. 4 votes required. 3, discussion and consideration of approval of receipt of unanticipated revenue number 16-234 and the amount of $58,648 derived from the local law enforcement services account, sheriff, to contributions to cities for fiscal year 2016-2017. 4 votes required.
Vote to deny.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board, Joel Begay, County Administrative Office. The item before you today is the budget cleanup item for the current fiscal year. This item is necessary to ensure that budgets stay within available resources and have the necessary appropriations for us to be able to meet mandates and obligations for the end of the fiscal year. There are true transfers of appropriations and 1 receipt of unanticipated revenues for your Board's consideration today. The first is TOP 16-253, which moves $65,000 from the contingencies budget to the building maintenance budget to fund unanticipated HVAC repairs and fire suppression costs in the current year. It moves $355,000 from the contingencies budget to the county council budget to cover projected annual costs of legal services through June 30th of this year. It transfers $152,000 to the corrections budget, $107,000 of which comes from contingencies, and $45,000 comes from within other accounts in the corrections budget to cover higher than anticipated electricity charges in the current year. The second transfer, 16-272, is a transfer of $389,000 within the sheriff's current budget amounts. It is not an increase in the budget. It is moving in accounts so that they may be able to purchase necessary safety equipment. And finally, RUR 16-234, which will allow us to pass through COPS revenues from the realignment funds to the cities of Madera and City of Madera and Chowchilla. This ends our presentation at this time. Staff from various departments are available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joel, I have a question and kind of help walk me through this. For instance, in 71 regarding the transfer of $572,000. For instance, in the 00700, the county council, it's talking about moving $355,000 into that account from provision contingency. So what is the budget? And I mean, is that what's budgeted? And if that's the case, why is it just not part of the general fund to begin with? It's, maybe, is it a overrun? Just kind of help me go through the whole thing.
Right. I'm going to look to Darren to help me answer that question.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, while Darren's on his way up, this particular area, this is for the outside litigation costs.
Right, the
I was going
county
to talk
council
about the
budget in general.
budget control.
Yeah, Darren McCandless with the administrative office. So the county council budget, since the adoption of the new model with the Lozano-Smith, we've budgeted the capped services, which is a $950,000, and we've budgeted an additional amount on top of that, which I think this year was $180,000-ish, to cover outside litigation services not contemplated by the cap. And traditionally, that amount hasn't increased over the past couple of years. So traditionally that amount, and I think it's due mainly to the unpredictable nature of litigation, has been short. We've traditionally come back mostly mid-year to adjust that. So the driver as to the county council adjustment is primarily outside litigation, and it's because of the relatively small allocation at the time of budget.
Which was 180,000, you said?
I think it's 182, something like that.
Okay, and this 355 that would include that 182,000?
Mostly to complete the budget year as to outside counsel litigation.
So then so the whole thing would come up to roughly actually about 1.3 million then total.
Okay, yeah, I think so.
Roughly.
A little less than that, I think.
You can do the math on that one.
So for the county council budget adopted, it's 1.1 million. This would put it to 1.4.
1.4, okay.
Supervisor Poitras, we purposely keep the outside litigation cost allocation, the amount we set aside for that each year, low. We don't want to have a large sum of money in there. We just find that it's better to restrict that, and then when there are those costs, they go through a review committee. They decide which attorneys get those cases, and we just find that it's better to keep that amount low.
Mm-hmm. So okay. And then, thank you. And then the other question, the contingencies. That's a category that was budgeted, I believe, last year for additional kind of rainy day type.
Unforeseen budgetary adjustments.
Okay. And that was what, about 1 point something?
2.4.
2.4. Yes.
Okay.
And it's been the same for the last 3 fiscal years. We've maintained that level.
Very good. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Mine's somewhat on the same line as Supervisor Poitras says. So the outside litigation budget, is that going to Lozano Smith? Is that going to other firms? Is this, I mean, we have the cap with Lozano Smith at $950. Just, I would imagine that's like I make my prices at Papa Murphy's and 99 cents just to keep it under 10, right? Mm-hmm. But
we have one
sticker shock.
Which includes the 950 and then this additional amount. That additional amount's not restricted to Lozano. Again, it's we could refer to any of the number of outside firms that we use on a regular basis.
But a portion of that is going to Lozano.
Oh yeah, for sure. Right.
Sneaky.
Eric, question for you. When we had the in-house legal counsel, and now we have we're contracted out, how does it? What are the figures? Are we over, under?
I think we are under, and a big part of it deals with how we're reviewing invoices now, the team that reviews outside litigation costs. There's a lot more of an effort to control costs, and so our outside litigation costs have gone way down. They're trending like half of what they were 5 years ago.
That's right.
Because you've got a different arrangement that encourages more oversight. Mm-hmm. When you had a full-time employee, county council, staff department, I hate to say it, and it probably was maybe because of the individuals that filled those positions, but there was a tendency to just outsource it, take it off our plate. They don't do that. I mean, they have incentive to keep as much as possible within their firm. They don't get all of the outside litigation, but they help us monitor those costs as part of the review committee that Darren sits on, and Todd Miller, Regina.
Yeah, my question doesn't pertain to good job, bad job, who's doing a better job. I'm just talking about the figures. So we are less costly now than we were before.
In total, we are, yes.
Okay, all right.
Supervisor, I have a couple of numbers as to the countywide litigation costs. So, for instance, in fiscal year 13-14, which I think is the year immediately prior to Lozano coming on, countywide our litigation expense was $1.6 million. For this fiscal year, to date, we've paid $632,000. So I mean, I'm projecting that for this year we're probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up because we had in-house lawyers, right, but we had to hire everything out because they couldn't handle it. And what they did handle, we most of the time got screwed. It cost us more in the end than it did. I mean, we could have been better off just not having nobody to do it than the way it is happening. I mean, some of our contracts, we're still hurting over some of them that we took it in the shorts on. I mean, totally. I mean, we were so underrepresented, I can't even tell you. So when we decided to do this 6, 8, 9 years ago, whenever it was, and
about 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
That was the whole idea, to try to get this to save us money on so we had experts on everything. I can't tell you how pleased I am now with our litigation compared to what it was the first 6, 8 years I was on this board.
Well, my question was just to see figures, whether, like I stated before, good job, bad job. But that's not what my question was. Just to see what the figures were, how they lined up. Supervisor Rogers?
Yeah, I just want to point out, that of all the places in our operations that can cause us loss of money in the future, the county counsel's office is the place. And we've ended up in litigation over and over again because of the wording of contracts that didn't cover our tail, to put it bluntly. And we lost millions of dollars as a result of those kind of details. And we can go back and talk about them. I mean, I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, but the fact is, I can say unequivocally, we've lost millions of dollars because of the poor wording in contracts. The fact also remains that when we changed the model, we went from 1.35 million, somewhere in there, 1.5 million, down to significant saving money over a period of years. We've saved up to this point. And even though things escalate in costs, we continue to save money in the county counsel's office. That's phenomenal, with better service, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to litigation, we had a period of years that we studied. There was $5 million, I believe, over a period of the previous 5 years to my being on the board that we lost due to litigation that goes out to attorneys. And we are in a significantly better position now with litigation, and I think there's 2 reasons for that. One is because we're watching the storehouse together as a team. We have a better system of evaluating that litigation and those suits. And secondly is that we have people who have ownership of our contracts and our MOUs, and we're not getting ourselves hung out there and finding ourselves in these lawsuits that we were in before for ambiguous wording, such as the VLF. We lost a lot of money on VLF due to the ambiguous wording. So here's the deal. We could go back and mess up or continue forward like we're doing. I think we've done very well in the direction we're going now. And sure, maybe we can do better. We can always do better. But I like what we're doing, and I think it's proving to be not only profitable but prudent. Thank you.
Besides, she's prettier.
Good job,
Red.
Oh, my. But yeah, that's I mean, I'm happy with the service, but if I don't continue to stay on top of this and dog this,
I agree.
The very first item that we had that came up in front of me was for $180,000 for the whole year. Within 2 months, it was over double that to $500,000. Now we're up to $1 million. If we don't continue to just stay on top of it, regardless of how good the service is, because it's fantastic. I feel very confident in Regina, Scott, Dale, and but I enjoy working with them. I think they're doing a fantastic job, but we can't just sit back and say, yeah, they're doing a great job, and then all of a sudden we're bloated to over $2.5 million, and now we have more money going out than we had before. And I don't want to be there saying I told you so.
No, that's right.
Because I don't like doing that. I don't like being. I'm kidding. I love being that. But that's the only thing. So this, like Max said, this has nothing to do with performance. And we made the decision, or I wasn't here when we made the decision, but when the decision was made as a cost-saving measure.
Right.
So is it a cost-saving measure, or is it better for service? So we have to figure out. Yeah, we have to figure out which is more important, because at some point we may not have that cost-saving measure that was originally intended.
Hopefully, some point people quit suing us too.
Yeah, that'll.
But a lot of credit should go to Eric, because he's the one that initiated this direction that we should go, and
I give Eric all the credit.
He's the man.
Yeah, boy.
Just one more thing.
I wanted to also say to my colleague, I totally agree with you. We cannot just, we can't freewheel on any of this stuff. That's not an option in any of the budget areas. Because there's going to come a time when the pinch is going to come. Mm-hmm. It's just like litigation. It's not if, it's when. Litigation, we get criticized for being sued. Well, that's silly, because everybody's being sued. We're in a litigious society, and the deep pockets get sued, no matter what. What we should be concerned about is when we get sued, are we prepared, and are we dealing with things properly? Are we confronting issues before they become issues? And I think we're doing that. We're being proactive rather than reactive. I think that's a lot of why we're seeing litigation drop precipitously as it has over the last few years. But I totally agree with my colleague Brett. Keep pounding and keep that watchdog nose sniffing around, and that's what we need.
Yeah, this is always a love fest. It's going to creep up quickly.
Yeah, no, it's got to be watched. We cannot let that go. For sure.
Let's take it out to the public. Comment from the public.
Move to approve 7A, 1, 2, 3.
And for a motion.
I will actually second that, Tom.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
No, just kidding, yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee.
7F, County Administration Department, 2017 Madera County Operational Priorities. 1, discussion and consideration of approval of a revised mission statement, vision statement, and core values for Madera County. 2, discussion and consideration of approval of proposed action plans for implementation of operational priorities as identified during the Board Management Workshop in April 2017.
Clerk of the Board.
Are these the words of the song?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
I already did. Yeah.
Are we going to stand up and sing?
Dress for success, cause I be excellent.
All right, guys. Good afternoon, everybody. So we found a song, and you've got the lyrics up there. But the song is called Excellent by Sho Baraka. And he's a Christian rapper from down south. But we found something in there, he talks about building up communities, here to raise the standard up, everything that, we're really trying to do here with our new mission and vision statement. So I'll introduce everybody that was on our team to do this. Myself, I'm Brett Fraser. For those of you who don't know me, I'm District 1 Supervisor.
Dancer extraordinaire.
Dancer extraordinaire. I was going to bring some like linoleum so I could break dance, but we decided not to. We have Eric Fleming, our CAO. Deborah Muller, our Fire Marshal. John Markle from from the DA's office, and Melissa De Silva, my Chief of Staff. So I wanted to first say that we wouldn't even be standing here today without Melissa's organization and putting this together. She made this, right? She made this such a wonderful experience for us to come out, and she removed all the clutter so we could really start thinking freely. So I'll turn it over to her now and for the presentation.
Good afternoon, Board. I don't have to introduce myself since I already was introduced. So we were tasked at the management workshop to come up with some ideas for a new mission and vision for the County of Madera. So we did a quick little PowerPoint. So this is our team, hard at work in the conference room. Just so you know, we really did work. We did not take this lightly. It was something that we really looked at hard and fast to make sure that we covered everything that we talked about at the management workshop, pardon me. We did a Madera 2047 at the workshop that kind of outlined some ideas of what we wanted to be, and so we looked at all of those. And let's just look at the current mission. Serve the public interest in a fiscally responsible manner by providing efficient, cost-effective customer service, promoting public health and safety, while creating new possibilities with partnerships through a diversified economy. So that's a lot of words, right? That's a lot of words.
Very wordy.
And in a mission statement, it should be something that we know, something that we can get up in the morning and know this is why we're coming to work. So it has to be short, sweet, concise, but yet come up with something that everyone, every department, everyone in this county can adhere to. So here's our suggestion. A little drum roll. Creating a countywide culture of excellence through dedicated public service.
Yay! Yeah! All that.
So we felt like we wanted to make sure that it incorporated the culture of excellence that we all talked about at the workshop. We wanted to ensure that each department level could take it down to their department and determine what their culture of excellence is. Okay? Vision. Vision is something we want to see in the future. It's not today, but it's tomorrow, 5 years, 10 years down the road. This is our current vision, dedicated to the pursuit of excellence with integrity and is committed to the highest quality of life for all. Not bad, right, Supervisor Frazier? Yeah. Here's something we think is better. Excelling as the best and most trusted local government. So, so again, how are we going to do this? Our team decided that it wasn't enough to do just the mission and the vision, but perhaps we wanted to have some core values. What are we going to do to make sure that we follow the mission every day and that we look towards the vision? Core values. So our proposed core values are creating a place of excellence. And if you look down these words, they spell out place. Professionalism.
I love it.
Loyalty. Accountability. Compassion. And excellence.
Very good. I love the alliteration. That's fantastic.
Supervisor Frazier. His wordsmithing.
My man.
Yes. So these core values represent how we treat each other, how we deal with our customers, and how we hold others and ourselves accountable. Professionalism. The culmination of competence, knowledge, resourcefulness, quality, attitude, and cooperation related to how we provide our professional services. So we feel that can apply to public health, to the Sheriff's Department, to administration, all over the entire county. Loyalty, a strong feeling of support and allegiance. We want to have loyalty. That produces trust and accountability and so forth and so on. Accountability, willingness to take responsibility for one's own actions and to be present to further the goals of the organization. So it's just not all about me, it's about where I come to work every day. Compassion, the concern, empathy, and consideration for the needs and values of others. We have to be compassionate with our constituents. I think all of our chiefs of staffs can say we always have to be very compassionate when we get those calls. And Maria's laughing like she understands. Excellence embraces advancement, challenges mediocrity, and works towards development of new knowledge. We all have to get better, right? Improve our knowledge. So here we have it, our culture of excellence, our mission, creating a countywide culture of excellence through dedicated public service. Our vision, excelling as the best and most trusted local government. Our values of creating a place of excellence with professionalism, loyalty, accountability, compassion, and excellence. And that's our presentation.
Not too bad for a beginner.
I know, thanks.
I love it.
We're going to the next, or just move forward? Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yeah. First of all, you used our new logo, our new branding.
Yes.
Second thing is, the mission is perfect. The vision, just my own thing I'd like to add, always excelling or continually excelling.
So we're looking to the future.
Yeah. So we're always excelling.
That's not bad. Like that.
Just think about it. And then on the place, like if you go back to your thing, you got P and you got lower to way in, you can't read that place. You either got to change the colors, make the font different, or keep it in a straight line so you can see the place. You can't see it.
So I don't know if this is going to be publicized anywhere. This was just my copy that I printed, but we can, and I did actually put that, the first letter of each one is larger, but not large enough.
Yeah, it's not large enough. I got it. You get
So
it.
this was just kind of a cheat sheet, but
I
just put it out there.
I want everybody to know we're always doing it. Since I've been elected, I've always done that. So I think people need to know we always are doing our vision of what we want in this county.
Yeah, and to speak to the vision, I know that there was an email circulating about this being making someone want to throw up, and I know that people don't maybe think that we're the most trusted, but how can we ever get there if we don't put it out as a daily reminder?
Always reminded
that this is what we're striving to be. And we said excelling. We said not just trying to or wanting to become or in the process of becoming the most. We said no. We have to excel as we can't accept second place. We've always settled for that, and we have to set ourselves apart and say no. Anything less than the excellence is not available. If we're not the most trusted and the best local government, then what are we trying to do here? Why are we even trying to apply ourselves? We are going to be first. We are always going to be at the pinnacle of in our area in the state. So that's why we just said, no, we're no longer going to accept second place.
Well, you heard me introduce myself at the CSAC and stuff. I always put down the biggest little county in the state, and this is exactly what I mean.
Okay.
Perfect.
Supervisor Poitras.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great job. Just a question going back to that new vision. It says excelling as the best and most trusted local government. Now, local government, would that be like comparing ourselves to the two cities and school districts, or what exactly who are we comparing ourselves to?
Well, yeah, the next we'll get to intergovernmental work. But yeah, we're just better than everybody else, Rob. That's what it boils down to.
And the reason I'm saying that is because, and I think, there's some really good local governments, but, if we're comparing ourselves to specific local governments and saying we're going to be most trusted among them, is that bar, where's that bar? And so because we're saying they're most trusted compared to in local government arena here locally, but is that a good thing or bad thing? I guess it's a good thing, but how trusted are they, number one? And then second of all, we want to be the most trusted, and yet we want to get along in this intergovernmental thing. It's one of the things, we're going to be more trusted than you guys are, So I'm just wondering if that should be rewarded to where, there's this trust in our organization versus comparing ourselves to others. Because we can always say that we're...
So we can say we're the best and most trusted Madera County government?
Well, no. I mean, just maybe in general, not even comparing. Something about we excel in trust in our organization, something like that. Not like the most trusted local government, because that means that we're looking to be more trusted than MUSD or the city of Madera or the city of Chowchilla.
Well, we need to be.
But is that something to aspire to, or is there something beyond that?
Just organization?
I think I see what he's saying.
Yeah, it's kind of like, are we setting the bar too low? Essentially, because if we're saying we're going to be the most trusted local government, what if MUSD and the city of Madera and the city of Chowchilla are not trusted at all? Then all we have to do is get to a level of mediocrity.
Well, we're not talking about
the
just
most
in our
trusted.
region. We're talking about everywhere.
California.
And because we had originally had it as in the state and country, a region, state, and country, and we just said instead of doing that, I mean, we want it to be, just so broad that we strive to be as great as we possibly can be, as trusted as we possibly can be. We didn't say in there.
He's looking more micro, and you're looking more macro.
We were looking macro.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's that term local government that's a little confusing.
He's got a point to it.
Because you're talking, I see what you're saying, local government meaning...
So we just say governmental entity?
Or government in general. I'm just saying that it could be interpreted local government meaning a government here versus a government that anywhere in America, you walk in and see your electeds and so forth in their grocery store. So, because you could look at this thing in general, or you could look at it geographically local. I think it's that local government that kind of throws it a little bit. For me.
So instead of local government, governmental entity?
Something like that.
That's fine.
How about in America?
Yeah.
Government in America.
It could be reworked, just so people don't get the idea. Well, of course you're more trusted.
We are more trusted, and I checked it out. We are more trusted than the government of Venezuela right now. So
okay,
that's a good thing,
Thank you.
Venezuela.
They don't have a government.
Yeah, they don't have a government. Yeah.
Okay, very good. No, that's a great job, though.
I just wanted to thank the team. They did an awesome job, and I was proud to be a part of it.
The wording of what we're trying to do, I think you guys have done a very good job. But words don't mean anything unless we live up to it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's what it's all about. I think that's what Robert's trying to say, that it's our performances to reflect. You can use all kinds of words there. They don't mean anything if we don't live up to those high standards.
Exactly, right? which is why we took away what we called in the old mission statement, which was word vomit. It was the true amalgamation of a committee putting together something. It was like a Frankenstein, right? It had every little bit. You could tell everyone who was probably in the meeting at the time because they had to throw in their word, and then it just got so many different words in it that it lost all of its meaning. And even Eric pointed out in it, it says that we're going to do the most efficient and cost-effective customer service. It doesn't even say in there anywhere that we're going to do it well, right? It just says that it's going to be cost-effective. So what is that? Cost-effective customer service may mean we only have one person for every 1,000 people that come in, but that's part of our mission statement, right? It didn't say that it's cost-effective and good.
Right.
So we so we wanted to do it where someone can remember it. It can be up. You can internalize it. The fact that when we were looking at this at Bass Lake and Eric didn't know the mission statement by heart, if there's any one person that should know it, and I've told him this, there's no reason he should have known this by heart because there's too many words. But, if anybody should, it should be the top of it. He'll have to recite this every time that we have a meeting now.
Right.
I did have a suggestion under the vision. If we took out the best and most and just said excelling as a trusted local government.
As a trusted
local government.
Yeah. Always. I like that.
I like that.
As a trusted local government?
Yeah. Very good.
I like
well done.
Everything is great, guys.
Yeah. Eric, they're always excelling. We'll go for second place. Okay.
Eric.
Yes, sir.
This is great. This letter's great, except we need sun rays up here.
Yellow.
sun rays.
Hey.
That sounds like a different topic for another day.
I got it for you.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on this. Is a vision statement, a mission statement is about establishing a culture in an organization, and it is so important that we have that clear. And the other is so convoluted. It's so amalgamated. It's just a patchwork of good ideas, but doesn't say much. It's kind of like corporate speak. And this that you've come up with is very simple, codified, and it will tell people it's an expectation. It is an expectation that we can achieve. And that's evident because we've already achieved so much as a local government that is becoming more and more trusted. We've achieved among our colleagues, our peer groups, and when you look at the grading of this county as compared to others, we are at the top of the heap. We're literally leading the pack in so many ways. We might as well continue to lead by becoming more and more excellent. And they're going to look at us and say, wow, how'd you guys do this? Well, because we expected to be that. Expectation is a huge power. It's a huge force in any organization. It's a force with kids in school, with a force that parents use with their children. And it's no different when we have an organization that is so important to the lives of people that we expect it to perform above average to the level of excellence. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And you'll see that all the other management ideas that are coming forward after this, they should all fold right up into this mission and vision.
Absolutely. Good job.
Well done. Very good. I even love the flair with which you brought it in.
Don't forget that. Well, I happen to be on the next one, so here I am again. Oh, go ahead.
Good job, brother.
So we're continuing on, and as you'll recall, your board identified several operational priorities during the board management workshop back in April, and the mission vision statement update was kind of a unique one. The other 6 items, intergovernmental relations, public safety, water resources, road maintenance, marketing, and tree mortality, all fit better within action plans because there were certain things that we needed to do in each of those categories and have identified those things that we hope to do within the next 12 months and then long term. We had group leaders identified at the time of the workshop, and we committed to bringing back these action plans by today. At that time we did. So intergovernmental relations is our next item, and that group is headed up by Gary Svanda and Melissa Da Silva.
Thank you, Eric.
Hey, Gary.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Where's the music at?
And the sunglasses. Second place already.
I love it.
No, but our first challenge was actually to define the group that we're going to work with the intergovernmental relationship. We could throw in the school district, we could have MID, there's a lot of different entities, but we have chosen the County of Madera, the City of Chowchilla, and the City of Madera. Identify then the best ways that we might collaborate and define important issues that are shared by all three jurisdictions. What we propose is a morning workshop that is similar to the board management workshop that we had in Bass Lake. It would be held on a Saturday, and our target date is September the 30th. At that time, we would meet at the municipal golf course here in Madera, and we would have this workshop led by Bill Chiat, the fellow who was our representative at our own workshop. Through CSAC, he is experienced and has all the kind of background that would help us coordinate and organize our thoughts. We would start with breakfast, then the workshop, followed by lunch, and finish up with a 9-hole golf outing for anyone interested in more bonding. The cost of the 2 meals we will get covered through private donations. And if anybody wants to participate in the golf outing, it'll be $25 and they would pay their own way.
Yay.
So we're not using our own funds to promote this, but it is a very worthy, and I may be coming around asking for individual contributions, so keep your minds open to that.
Who could see anything wrong with this whole proposal? I think that's excellent.
Well, and the idea in the end is to formulate and then to execute a strategy that we can speak with a unified voice to Sacramento and Washington, D.C., along with our shared constituents throughout the county. And if the board approves, we have prepared a letter that is an invitation that would go to both mayors in the name of our chairman, and he would sign that. And it would be hand-delivered by members of our subcommittee at one of their city council meetings with a little information about what the day might look like. And we have a wonderful group that has put this all together. The letter was put together by Matt Traber, and he did a lot of the thought process. I think you guys might have a copy of the letter, or we'll provide one. Organizational structure, obviously, that's Letty and Melissa. They keep us all herded together and headed in the right direction. A young lady out of my office by the name of Alyssa Castaneda made all the phone calls out to the golf course and made sure about menus and organized things that way. And, of course, Eric was always there to provide leadership. So with that, that's what we're proposing, a single-day event, a little food, breaking bread, a little bonding, and I think our intergovernmental relationships can be fostered with that sort of informal, recreational, and informational kind of activity. Any questions you might have, we'd be happy to entertain them.
Remember how we started out, Gary, when you was the mayor and I was the chairman?
That's exactly right, Tom.
Moving down the road, buddy.
That's exactly right.
I remember when this was put together after that, and then Melissa came and told me what was going on, and sometimes it's always the same things that get brought up, and then I saw this, and I was like, it peeled away all of the politics. It put it into even though the city of Madera owns the golf course, it still puts it onto a neutral site for everybody. Everybody is comfortable out there, so it's not like, hey, you come over here, and they feel like they're coming into the lion's den. We go over there. There's no unbalance of power.
And a professional facilitator to draw out the ideas and what we share as a focus, that we can concentrate on what we share rather than what takes us apart.
Yeah.
Not the lawsuits for this, that, and the next thing, but the commonalities that we share in trying to provide what we hope is that excellent customer service to the people we're elected to represent.
Yeah, I just thought that you guys did an amazing job on this.
Home run.
Yeah,
Home run.
I really did.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Happy to follow up. If not, all right, thank you.
No, they just need to say yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we approve items 1 and 2. And
We've got more things. More presentations.
Oh, one more presentation.
There's 4 more.
Oh, 3 more.
Yeah. Oh, 4 more.
Well, you want to take care of these at
We're going to go
all
one
at
by
once,
one.
or
I was getting ready to introduce the next group.
okay? We'll do that.
So our next category is public safety, and Matt Watson from the fire department, along with Tyson Pogue from the sheriff's department, headed that up, and they're going to go over our action plan items.
Boy, now this is a crew.
Chairman, Board of Supervisors, and also so is myself, Tyson, Tanya Say, and Stephanie Stockel from probation. All work together on this. I mean, we were really excited about that workshop, and we actually got back and met the following week. And we met several times. Eric joined us for our final meeting to go over our documentation. So we'll just briefly go over ours. Our goal is to improve public safety services by maximizing efficiencies. And we looked at many different ways to do that, and I'll go over a few of those. The first, we identify the task. We need to work with a consultant on new records management systems that would incorporate the Sheriff's Department, Department of Corrections, District Attorney, and Probation. So basically, if we could find one software system that would go from arrest to prosecution, hopefully that would minimize the amount of programs that we're purchasing and supporting for yearly costs. System management records from arrest to probation, develop a Department of Corrections and a fire department inmate crew. So you guys see on all these major wildland fires, the state of California has these inmate crews, and those are being loaned out to different departments, whether that's the feds. But if the county had their own inmate crew, that would obviously give a place for the inmates to be, and there's a couple different ways you could do that. But the county could receive reimbursement from the state when those are out on state fires. They could receive reimbursement from federal fires, and that's all money that would be coming into the general fund that would help fund public service. And we really stepped out on this next one. We want to develop a program for cross-training sheriff personnel for fire and EMS responses. So, I mean, you know, there's public safety agencies out there. There's 2 in California that do both police and fire. But this would be a kind of a bare bones minimum. The first would be an 8-hour training to get all the deputies trained to the CPR AED level. So in the sheriff's cars, they would have minimal trauma bag with some oxygen and a heart defibrillator. And a lot of times they're the closest one there, and they would be able to provide that medical training or medical response until the fire engine or the ambulance got there. The next would be there's a new skill set coming out. You guys all know there's paramedics, which can administer drugs, do airways, EMT, which most of all of our employees and some of our PCFs are trained at that level. But there's a new skill set. It's called Public Safety First Aid. It's a 40-hour class. And so we would train all the deputies to that, plus Violent Incident Management First Aid. So this program will be starting July of 2017. So that'd be one of our goals, to train all the deputies to that medical level. EMT requires 120 hours, so you can see this is significantly less. First responder first aid is which the minimum level we have for our PCFs, 56 hours. So it even reduces those training hours even more. One of the next things is, with Measure L failing, we need to look at where we can save pennies to try to improve public safety. One of the things we need to look at is adding 1 FTE, 1 fire captain, 2 engineers, to start staffing these stations with a second body a day. So if we were able to do that in our time frame, I'll go over our time frames later, but that would get 1 station to have 2 responders a day. Fund an additional 4 FTEs that were previously funded in the Sheriff's Department budgets, and this would be done through the budget request process. Add the Sheriff Corporal classification in between the Sheriff and the commanders. I'm sorry, where's the commander level fall?
In between the sergeant and the deputy.
In between the sergeant and the deputy, sorry. Coordinate with social services on welfare to work programs. Obviously, we can't train the welfare to work folks to respond to emergencies, but we could use them either to support our office staff, to help, around the fire station, whether it's doing lawns or washing fire engines, or just so it frees up time so that one person on duty can focus on their fire reports or prepare that engine for the next emergency. Look at opportunities to partner with code enforcement. Currently, the county has their own code enforcement. County Fire has a weed abatement officer, and there's things that could be combined together to support code enforcement and take that level of work off the fire department. And the other thing, it gives that code enforcement officer, when they're out there doing weed abatement inspections, they're going to notice the junk cars, the piled tires, the marijuana that's being illegal grown, and they can identify those hazards all in one. Recruitment and retention. Coordinate a cadet program between the Department of Corrections and the Sheriff's Department. And so that'd be a pathway through DOC into the Sheriff's Department, but a minimum 2-year commitment. That would also allow the county, because it's being real competitive in the law enforcement, most of these agencies are now paying people to go to the police academy. So with that, if you sent a cadet through the Department of Corrections to the police academy, that would be their gateway to the Sheriff's Department, and it'd be funded at a lower pay scale. Who can help? County administration is obviously going to be big. Human resources, the Sheriff's Department, the Fire Department, and Department of Corrections. It's going to take all of us working together to make this happen. Some of these will be done just through the administration office, but most of these are just a collaboration between all the different departments. What resources are needed? The first would be an IT consultant to collaboration between the Sheriff's Department, probation, and the District Attorney's Office. And obviously the fire crew, Department of Corrections and Fire would need to collaborate on that. The Sheriff's Department and Department of Corrections to work on the cadet program, and then Fire Department and Code Enforcement to work on combining those efforts. And then obviously we need budget adjustments in the 17-18 would obviously be needed. One of the things, when we do train the Sheriff's Department, they're going to we would start out with the medical equipment and then fire gear, and we train them to the same level as our paid call firefighters. So the fire gear and the medical gear that would go along with that. The additional FTE costs, consultant costs for admin and IT, and the cost for training the Sheriff's personnel. We did add the fire training captain a couple years ago, and we could utilize that existing person to help administer the training and do that just on duty days. So, and then the cost, we talked about the cost of outfitting the sheriff's vehicles for the oxygen defibrillator and medical. Our time frames on this, the sheriff, EMS, and defibrillator training, we feel we can get that done in 6 months with the minimal cost and the biggest return for the citizens having a medical emergency. The Sheriff's Cadet Program, also in that 6 months. The pathway to the Department of Corrections Cadet to Sheriff, and the Welfare to Work. We feel we can get all of these done within the first 6 months with very minimal cost to the county. The next step will be 12 months, and we look at additional fire and sheriff personnel, and then the sheriff personnel being trained to the PCF level, because that's going to be a little more intensive, going to require some personnel hours, and it's a little longer of a training program. We think we can cut that down based on their law enforcement training with incident command and emergency response. We think we can reduce that training, probably get it done in a work week. It might be a 50-hour work week, but we can get it done based on their current skill set. And then collaboration with code enforcement and the new record systems also identified in that first 12 months. Is there any questions of myself, Tyson, or Tanya?
I have one on the record systems. I think this was a great idea. We had looked at it when there was the sheriff's office and the city police merging together, and it was a good idea then. The problem we ran into is no one wanted to switch theirs. Theirs was the one that they were comfortable with. So we have all these systems in place, and that's what everyone feels comfortable with. would we look at doing just a brand new one so that everybody has to change, or is there one better than the other? Because I think, if we have, corrections on theirs, sheriff on theirs, fire on theirs, DA, everything, we're spending on each of those probably $200,000 to $300,000 a year in licensing fees. Could we get just one for $400 and save, $600,000 a year? Rough numbers. But I know that it was. Yeah, this is a great idea, but as long as we use mine,
And I think that, of course, you probably would run into that to some degree. That was the plan on bringing on the consultant, is to be able to have somebody from an objective standpoint go ahead and take a look at all of the disparate systems and see where we could find some consolidation. It would probably be somewhat of a long-term plan, 3 to 5 years before we could probably get everybody on the same system, because some have already entered into agreements that they are already, committed to for the next. DOC just went on a new system, so of course they'd have to, fulfill their agreement and that type of thing. But yes, that is going to be somewhat of an issue, but having the consultant should give us more of an objective
so we can see when everybody's licensing runs out.
And then kind of look to
and
see,
tell them don't re-up it, go month to month for a little bit until we figure it out.
Right, and also dependent somewhat, on what the courts may go to as well. If they update their system, say they did Tyler Technologies like Fresno County did, that might now be somewhat of a motivator for us to look at that system so that we could also be able to communicate with the courts as well.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
You could save a lot of money for that consultation.
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to make a comment. I'd just like to thank our public safety professionals and team members for this great plan that was presented. After what happened with Measure L, it would be very easy for everybody to just kind of retreat and kind of go into their corner and say, woe is me and poor pitiful me and so forth. But the opposite has happened here. People are saying, you know what, it didn't pass, but guess what? We're going to move forward with what we've got, and we're going to do what we can, not focus on what we can't do. So I'd just like to thank you guys for your great efforts and your never say die attitude.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know what? I wanted to add to that. I think that was a great statement. There's a lot of things that have been coming out even after the Measure L debacle or whatever, and for whatever reason that it failed, misinformation, I believe. But we have had a lot of good information come out about what this board is actually doing and what you're actually doing, and it's extraordinary. No uncertain terms. With less money, we're doing more, and you continue to surprise me. The public safety sector, you guys are amazing. Our public safety people, I just really appreciate you. I wish we could just give you the gold ring and do it, because that's the most important thing we do, is protecting the public. And that's one of the reasons why we've tried to jump on. My office, we're trying to foster neighborhood watch programs. We're trying to develop an awareness of public safety out there that's very important. Thank you for the pictures, Tyson. They were great. We put them on the internet, and the fire truck pictures, we posted those, and people are just piling on. I think up to date we had like 1,000 responses to it. So it's a bunch of shares. So it's people are becoming aware of what we're really doing, and we're not sitting on our heels. That's for sure. We're making the best of what we have.
Thank you.
Our next operational priority was water resources, and that group is headed up by Julia Berry, with backup by John Markle.
And what a backup, huh? You can stand behind me.
Julia, question for you.
Already, yes.
Why is Fresno watering 3 times a week?
Yeah, no shit.
See, it's on that one. I'll find out.
I couldn't believe when I read that.
Yeah.
The drought is over, guys. Come on.
Yeah,
of course, that's
geez.
fine.
So there's actually a third member of our team, Steve Von Flew from Fleet Services, is not here, but he had a lot of contributions and was a great member of the team. John Markle, who was on another committee, served on the water committee just out of the goodness of his heart, I guess. He's a chief investigator at the DA's office, for those that are listening at home, and I'm the department director for the Water and Natural Resources Department. And I want to point out that at the management retreat, I was not actually on this committee, and what's really great is whoever was originally on the committee actually outlined the things that we're already doing. So I think we're all very informed about what's going on because we're speaking the same language. So our goal for water resources in the county reads this way. The goal is to develop a comprehensive long-term program for water management in Madera County, supported by adequate funding to execute this plan. Very important.
Mission statement.
That's our goal, our mission statement. So very briefly, why is this a priority? The county has a responsibility to improve the management of our natural resources and to provide an opportunity for people to have a healthy, successful lifestyle here in the county. And without water resources, life isn't really possible. So that's why it's important. And secondly, we've been given some pretty strong deadlines by the state to comply with particular direction and to try to do better with our management of our natural resources, specifically groundwater. So our objectives, the first will be to submit a grant application, which we're already working on, to the Department of Water Resources to obtain at least $1 million per sub-basin. And we have 3 sub-basins in this county for groundwater management. Our second objective would be to identify opportunities for water storage and a way to move that water. So we call that conveyance. And the third would be to identify water to put in those facilities, because people talk a lot about recharge basins, and a basin's great, it costs a lot of money to build one, but we have to have water to put in the basin. That's the key, and that's the challenge that we're looking at right now, is finding real, reliable water supplies to bring into the county. And our last objective is to propose funding at the county level to get this work done. Construction costs money. There is some grant funding for that, but we also have some administration involved in managing groundwater. So we'll be bringing some proposals in the next year, probably in the next 6 months, on how we can start funding these projects. So the tasks are to get this grant application done. We're already meeting with other local agencies because we're not alone in this. We're with all of the cities and the irrigation districts and the water districts. Next, we are talking with landowners to find people who are willing to build infrastructure and willing to donate their property for recharge, fallowing fields, building recharge basins, potentially putting a pipeline through their properties. We are really looking at what's realistic as far as what water is available and looking at realistically how we can fund the purchase of that water. And again, we're looking at different ways that we can try to fund this kind of work, because if we only have one funding source, when that fails or if it fails, we need to have backup plans. So that's what we're working on. What are our challenges? Again, funding. That is our biggest challenge. So that's what we're working on. Next, we don't have a lot of historical data on how much water we use. We have a lot of data on surface water, how much water comes into the county, but we can sort of extrapolate how much we use by looking at crop type and looking at acreage. We can extrapolate how much water we're using, but we don't have any really good concrete data about how much we're actually extracting out of the ground and how much is being brought in to offset. But right now we're just in estimating phase. So that's one of our challenges. We've got to get out and spend some money to get that data so we can actually report to the state where we're supposed to. Our next challenge is the regulatory hurdles. A landowner might say, yes, I want to build a recharge basin. I'm all in. I'm right next to a waterway. Well, there's a lot of red tape. If you're in a flood zone, it can be a dream killer, as Norm likes to say, or like to say. And there's lots of things that can make it difficult. So the way we have to mitigate that is we have to understand the timelines, we have to understand what that red tape means, and plan accordingly so that we can stay on track with our goals. One of the other things that we called out as a challenge is outside stakeholders' effort to try to undermine what we're doing. And, not only do we have a responsibility to do this and to do it right, but we have to do some of these things also in order to stay in compliance with the state. And it's very challenging for some people to understand that things change. And it's very challenging for the county to tell people how they have to change and to involve stakeholders in the process. So the best thing that we can do is to be very transparent. We build a website, and to try to get that information out and to listen and to try to help people along, because change is hard and regulations are also difficult to swallow sometimes. What resources do we need? Again, financial. We need technical support from engineers. We've got a great team of engineers in public works. We've got outside consultants that are working for us. We need hydrogeologists and geologists. We don't have those people on staff. So we've got some contracts out there with people that are, smarter in ways that, ways that I'm not. People that really understand the lower aquifer and the upper aquifer and can really put that into layman's terms for the rest of us. We have really good support from the California Department of Water Resources and from the State Board, believe it or not. We're doing very well. We're working together. And then we need a team of ambassadors, and that includes the board. We need people to talk the talk and look for opportunities and be able to understand this information. But we also need members from the ag community to be out in different areas and be what I like to call our ambassadors, who are saying good things about what the county's doing and understand our process and can help bring other people on board. And then lastly, one of the big parts of what we're doing is we're working on disadvantaged communities. It's a big part of trying to improve the lifestyle, providing better resources and funding for them to be successful. Lastly, the tribal community is also involved in this process. And so our timeline for having a comprehensive plan, at least just for groundwater, there are other things like stormwater capture that we're working on in the meantime, is January 2020. That's our deadline. But we are writing a stormwater resource plan to capture stormwater in the meantime. And that's it.
Excellent. Pretty good. Very good. Solved.
So easy.
Could have done this 20 years ago.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
thank you very much. I'd just like to say I think it was really well laid out with the objectives, the tasks. It has the timelines and so forth out there, different parties to be involved. One thing, though, one sentence needs to be taken out.
Okay.
And that's the outside stakeholders' efforts to undermine the process or impede success.
Okay.
First of all, there's no such thing as an outside or inside stakeholder. Either you're a stakeholder or you're not a stakeholder. And second of all, it kind of doesn't fit in with this culture of excellence and inclusion and so forth that we've already been talking about. And I can just see a sentence like this as not good as far as being communicated to the public, because then you've got people wondering, am I one of those stakeholders that needs to be ignored? And it's probably some of these people that you're talking about wanting to be partners with, people in the agricultural community and so forth. So we just can't have these shots across the bow.
Yes, I agree. I struggled a little bit because we had a structure to follow, and I'm not really sure in this process there was an ignore category, and I'm not really sure how to fill that in. So I thank you for the suggestion. I'll try to reward that.
We just have to we have to take the high road at every opportunity, show leadership, and any time if there's a situation where we can, get caught in the weeds, to rise above that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
I'm very proud of it. I think it's a great statement. I think Rob hit a good point there. I think it's very good that he brought that up. He's a very thoughtful person and thought about that, and it's good that you caught it. I think you've really, of all the things that we're doing, this is probably one of the more important. I hate to say that in terms of I don't want to exclude any other important things.
You said public safety was the most important.
Well, public safety is important. You're not going to have a need for public safety if you don't have water in the ground, because we wouldn't have anybody living here. It's done. That we can get finished off with this subject, period. I mean, overnight. And so we all see the critical importance of it, and I think you really codified it in a great way. And also the need. You were very honest about the need for funding. I mean, that's a fact. Somehow this has got to be paid for, and we've got to identify those sources. I think people in the ag community recognize that it's got to happen. I think everybody is on the same page, and we'll hopefully all move in the same direction. I think you're bringing people along very well in that way too, on the outside. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
No worries, man. Reality check, right?
Okay, our next operational priority is road maintenance, and that group is headed up by Ahmad Al-Kayat.
Thank you, Eric. Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
You're good.
I'm here to present to you the proposed action plan for road maintenance that came at our workshop back in April. So our goal here is to develop a comprehensive county road maintenance plan that includes an evaluation and prioritization policy that will determine the scope and ongoing sequence of road maintenance projects in the county. Now, a little pause here on the term road maintenance. Road maintenance is everything within our right-of-way, and that includes our facilities such as the pavement itself, the culverts, traffic signals, traffic signs, road signs, and all. So that's the whole description. And this basically will, if you recall, when your board appointed me as the Public Works Director and Road Commissioner, we would like, as a Public Works team, to be more proactive, bring it to a culture of being proactive with road maintenance, or mostly proactive. You can always have those reactive actions that you will need to do. So we need to be mostly proactive, have a plan, have a vision, have a policy in place, and to protect the public's interest and you as the board as well. So with that, we have our SMART objectives. Evaluate all existing data, and we do have some. I'll tell you how old. All existing pavement management data to determine next steps for comprehensive pavement evaluation process. The last data that was collected for purposes of pavement management system was collected back in 2003 under Commissioner Townsend, I believe. So we are not the first team who wanted to do PMS, but we want to resurrect it, and we're committed to its completion. So, and then we're going to identify for procuring a road management system or a software or program that will be utilized by our department for tracking the inventory and road condition information for each mile of county roads. Complete a road network condition assessment study and develop policy for identifying, assessing, and prioritizing road repair maintenance. And that comes very handy, especially for your constituents. Our tasks: meet with a consultant, just know where we stand. Discuss the proper approach to assess the needs and the scope of the county for developing a request for proposal or qualifications for a pavement assessment and pavement management system. And this task has already been completed by our team. Let me pause here first and introduce my wonderful, energetic team. Apologize. Of course, we have Glenna Jarvis with Supervisor Rogers' office, Jared Carter, our Deputy Director for Public Works, and up buried in budgets is Mr. Joel Bouguet with the CEO's office. So apologize for that. But here they are.
Great team.
Yes.
Good team.
It's a team. It's a road team. So we already met
are you
with...
saying that you're better than us? They're not the best and most...
Road.
There's a team. Not the A-team, A-team.
I say great team.
It's a great team. So we have already met with a consultant, Nicholas Engineering and Environmental Services, just to chat with them, see what our needs are from where we are. It was a very good meeting, very successful. And then we're going to identify options and develop an RFP for pavement assessment and management system, develop draft prioritization policy to present to you for road repair maintenance projects, and develop short-term and long-term goals and term resources and revenue projections, which would require staff and funding. Now, with this will know where we at and where we need to go. So we would like to issue an RFP that is very well drafted. Go ahead.
So you're hiring a consultant to hire a consultant?
Good question. So what we are doing is basically it's coming right here. I was going to update you with our goals at the last year, our progress. What we are doing is We're hiring a consultant who is very well versed with pavement and asset management systems for us to draft and issue out a request for proposal that best meet our needs. And we're going to do that through a purchase agreement not to exceed $9,000.
And we don't have anyone on staff that can write that RFP?
Because, yes, I mean, they will assist us with the scope of work for that RFP. So if you recall, we've done this also with our levee repair grant application. We hired a firm that this is what they do day and night so that they help us more concentrate on what we need. So RFP will be concentrated on our story.
Okay,
so that's what we're doing.
Do we need a consultant to find that consultant, or do we already?
No, we need a consultant to help us draft an RFP. Yes, at this point, I believe we do.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a purchase agreement.
As long as it's
$9,000. The purchase agreement actually is currently at County Council's desk for review. They are reviewing that. So. Okay. And then the challenges. Of course, challenges is always insufficient funding, right?
Well, because we paid for a consultant to find a consultant.
But funding limitations exist, of course, at any county service. Therefore, a prioritization policy is necessary to allocate limited funding to the most critical needs. This prioritization policy is what will be entered into the new pavement management system and how we prioritize road maintenance, depending on the money you have. And of course, limited staff. Of course, we do not have that service at Madera County. With this request for proposal that will go out, part of it will be to train our staff how to utilize, maintain, and also future collection of data into the pavement management system. Who can help? Your board, of course, your feedback on prioritization policy development. Of course, everything I will come back to you for support, and of course the management support in prioritization of staff assignments for pavement management. I may not come and say we are in need for additional staff. That is yet to be seen, but of course we will discuss this more thoroughly. The resources that we will need, of course, funding, staffing, and the actual program, purchasing of a pavement management system program. Of course, with the funding, we will talk about the Senate Bill 1 in a little bit, give you a little update. Our realistic timescales to achieve our overall goal, we set these up. We believe they're very realistic to achieve. As I said, as of today, we are reviewing the not to exceed $999, what is it, 9,000, 10,000? It's not to exceed $10,000 usual purchase agreement with a consultant firm that's going to be issued any time. And then we go on with the process of developing the RFP. So the RFP, hopefully we hope to issue it by August of this year, and then go through the award process. By October, we should have somebody selected. And then the inventory process, basically we have about 1,600 miles of roads. The inventory process takes 8 miles for 2 full-time individuals, 8 miles per day. So if it's, yeah, two full-time, yeah. So that will be also part of the RFP, whether we let the consultant do it or our staff do it, that's also to be seen. And then we're hoping to launch our asset and pavement management system by July of 2018. And concurrently, we'll be working with the policies with your board. Like I said, where we at right now, we already found a consultant that we would like to go and have a purchase agreement with. Also, we are talking with a couple software providers to get a demo license that we could dabble with for a little while, and also the consultant will help us with it. And with that, of course, we'll be communicating with IT to set it up for us. basically, this is where we're at for payment management system. I'll take the questions if you have any.
Supervisor Fortress.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ahmad, nice job, great job. I like the outline, objectives, tasks, challenges, and et cetera, and the timeline. I mean, it's exactly what we're looking for. Just one suggestion in the timeline, and it would just be adding one more bullet point: public outreach or public education, because that's what it. After all this is done, that's wonderful. Now it's communicating it, and I would say if there was a way that we could develop something that all of us could use at every, like some kind of a PowerPoint or something that was easily communicated and showed where we were, what Measure T is doing, what SB1 is going to do for us, and then those projects and how we allocate. That's where things we could take to Farm Bureau, town halls, board of realtors, things of that sort.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor. Great question. Yes, July 13th is a board meeting. This is when Public Works is going to come in front of you to give you a solid waste and road fund presentation. Mm-hmm. So basically, we bring our workshop that we did back in 2016 updated. I'm just waiting for a few milestones to come in, so it will be into the presentation. And some of these are, for example, SB1. This week, actually, Thursday and Friday, they will be discussing the guidelines for the programming and reporting of the projects. So, and also they keep updating our the jurisdiction's shares and what they could be used for. So, rest assured, somebody from the county will be there in Sacramento this Friday to sit in that presentation. So we're waiting on SB1. That will be, I will update you on that in July 13th. Yeah, I'll give him. I'm going to pick him up. Okay, good. Yeah. And also what we are doing with this program, once the PA is, and we have our kickoff meeting, then all that will be presented to you July 13th.
Okay, very good.
And yes, I'm, as always, please, you of course, you all know, you always invite us to your public meetings, town halls, and the likes, and we're more than welcome to come and keep informing the public.
Well, and I was kind of looking more at, like, if this bullet point I'm talking about would kind of be at the end of your June 2018. It would kind of be after you've gone through this whole process, then we actually do have something to communicate as far as the process goes. So anyway,
town halls and things.
Definitely. Right. Yeah. So very good. Thank you, Ahmad.
Right, thank you.
But I think I can't say too much because it hasn't been formalized, but I think the county is, or this board is thinking about putting a group together to publicize the good things that the county does. And I think this is along the lines that Supervisor Fortis is talking about and yourself. That's what we plan to do in the near future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good plan.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but right now we're a little bit more on the reactive side than we are proactive where roads are concerned. Probably 75-25. Am I about right?
Yes. I mean, I would
Somewhere
guess. I would
there.
say that's a...
Just from assessing it for the last 6 years, largely due to funding and what have you. And I hope this assessment and analysis will put us on the other side of that to an extent with the new funding. And funding is a critical part of it. Of course. I mean, we can't get anywhere without some dollars to put to roads. But I wanted to add also that innovation is going to be a big part. I think we're going to be doing things that other people have never done before in roads. That we've experimented with ourselves that have been successful, that will decrease our inventory and decrease our necessity to outlay on all those situations. So I think it's going to be an exciting time of innovation in this department that will lead us to a better circumstance in the future with less inventory, better methods of attacking our problem, and getting more miles out of our dollars in that circumstance.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think out of this, the one thing that having talked to you about this, and you got me really excited about what this can do. And through this presentation, you haven't really said what the asset management does in terms of what happens once you get the data, and how that helps us in the future. Why is this even a good idea? So
I'll give you a hypothetical.
Yeah.
Is that good, Supervisor? Okay.
Perfect.
So let's say we have $300,000 that we would like to allocate to road maintenance. All right. Inputting this, once all the data and the inventory is in the system will tell, I would input $300,000, and then the system will tell me, okay, this $300,000 is better spent at segment A, B, C, or D, at that priority. And then what does that do? I mean, I'm asking you, if this is what the program is telling us to do, then it prioritized irrespective of what district or what.
It takes the politics out.
Exactly. It takes the politics out of the public service.
And so we would have to have, once that came in, we'd have to have a resolution that says we want to follow what this says to do because
the guidelines of it. Yeah.
Because
correct.
Otherwise, it's a fancy tool that does nothing.
Correct. We need two policies at a minimum. And correct me if I miss anything. Two policies at a minimum. At what point do we interfere? At what pavement condition? Index. Correct. 50, a 40, a 30. That's one policy. Another policy is the prioritization. Like he said, Supervisor, do we follow the program? Would there be any exclusions? That's the policy that I will be seeking.
Awesome.
I think there's one other factor that enters into what Brett is saying also, and that would be the travelability of the road. And I don't know if we're going to do, in our road studies, the number of cars, per day or per hour or whatever it is that pass over that spot. And I think that's an important factor because we got a lot of roads in this county that are not even traveled at all. In fact, I would venture to say we have roads that no cars go over. That's just ridiculous to have a road that nothing travels over. And that's what I was talking about, reducing inventory. I think that's a necessity in this circumstance. And maybe it'll give us those options. When we do the study, it'll give us point out to us, hey, this is really not a road. It's just a piece of pavement sitting out in the middle of nowhere that nobody uses. So,
one more thing I'd like to share quick before I'm excused. The first maybe dollar that we'll see from SB1 is late this year because the tax collection starts in November. I think November of this year. So we have 6 months left in this fiscal year. What I would suggest for this, let's call it fiscal year 17-18, is to be fiscally prudent. We would like to basically cover our shortfalls from the diminished funding that we've been having the past few years. We do have some loans payable to the general fund, for example. We also
get out of the hole.
Start operating in the black as well. Make sure we're accurately and properly staffed to be ready for 18-19, which let's call it the project year, where we will be getting more funds, and then we have more breathing room and be able. And also part of the remaining of this year is, of course, the establishment of the payment management system, and then we'll implement it and start maintaining it next year.
Good idea.
It's just a plan.
I like that. Yeah. I like that idea.
All right. So that's all I have.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our next operational priority was marketing. And we've got Brittany Dyer and Anthony Duhan heading up this team.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for having us. Brittany Dyer.
Anthony Duhan.
And also, we should mention that Tanya Say with IT was really helpful during this process, as well as David Lynn provided some leadership, and then, of course, Eric's support throughout the way. So As you guys have heard, the theme throughout the presentation has been, starting with the mission and vision, has been about transparency. It's about finding our voice and really grabbing some of those low-hanging fruits to be able to message it and package it in a way that provides transparency and builds trust to our communities. And so I've had the pleasure of working on the marketing committee, and our goal is just exactly that. And so I won't read this entire document, but I do want to share the objective. We'd like to transform the Madera County image through a multi-phased process, including marketing, branding, community outreach, and public relations, in order to improve transparency and harbor community trust and respect. I think whether we say it's in local governance, and to your point, Rob, there's a lot of mistrust these days. And right now we have a lot of low-hanging fruit of things that we can jump on right now with the capacity that we have right now in order to get the ball rolling. You'll notice in our timeline and in our phases, which is a three-phased approach, we can always build up and go further than that, but we really wanted to start with some of the basics so that we can just dive right in and start getting the action items completed. And so with that, you'll see that phase one really highlights social media and media outreach. And we've already started on this. In fact, both Anthony and Regina have been working on the social media policy, the one that has not been updated since 2010. And so we're looking forward to continuing to utilize that and improve that. There's a lot of different things that we need to consider before we open complete transparency. However, that is the ultimate goal, is how can we have the best connections with the public.
Did our social media, did it mention MySpace? Is that
actually
MySpace? That's a thing of the past.
Close.
We've got Twitter. There's some others, but not quite. So the goal for phase one is really to increase the use of social media throughout the departments in a coordinated manner in order to increase transparency. There are some departments that are already utilizing this and utilizing it well. All we want to do is help streamline that process, be able to clearly identify one person from each of the departments to be able to have a contact to see what's the temperature on the ground out there, folks. What are you hearing? What are the questions that you have? Also to further explore different training opportunities. Are there departments that would like some basic knowledge about social media, or is it something we need to consult with a consultant about? Sorry, had to do it.
That's very metaphysical.
Had to do it. So there's a lot of wins, right?
Absolutely. So, one of the great things is, first off, most social media, it's free. So we're able to do things right now that we can start actually encouraging, because there are so many great things that every single department does, but the public just isn't aware of. A perfect example is, I think, the Go Request app. I just found out about that maybe 3 weeks ago. And there's this app that you're able to actually geotag a pothole and be able to send it to Public Works, and they'll be able to work on that. And that creates more transparency for the county. But I'd say probably 12% of people, not even, actually know of this app. So we want to be able to, easy things like that, of letting people know of the different things that we have, or allow us to have more transparency and actually have more trust, and we can do things really quickly.
So, and that said, we recognize that with every opportunity, we want to make sure to have the right check and balances in place. And so that's why having that one contact in each department will be very useful. County Council did just correct me here. The social media policy was adopted in 2011. So we're good then. No.
Adopted in 2010, amended in 2011. Coming back to you in 2017.
Coming soon in a theater near you.
It was amended right after Tom Wheeler got on social media.
So you guys, some of the other easy wins is being able to develop a countywide template for press releases, being able to utilize some of the same signatures in our email to really shape that brand, highlighting that culture of excellence. There's a lot of really easy things that we can kind of just get the ball rolling and facilitate those efforts. So that's really what you'll see in phase one. Phase two outlines a lot of the community outreach and public relation dynamics. And this is really where the boots get on the ground, right? Let's not just go to just the town hall events, but where else can we have the interface between the public and county employees? And not only being able to ignite that, but also have trainings, internal trainings for folks so that they feel comfortable with dealing with constituents hand-on. In fact, you'll note one of the ideas that the marketing committee has come up with is to be able to get to a point where we can have monthly trainings based off little surveys that we do internally about where the gaps are, but also further exploring what expertise we have in the staff members here. So for starters, Anthony is going to be hosting a social media workshop, right? But we'll gauge that agenda based off what people are actually interested in. So we hope to be able to do that further throughout the departments. Another interesting Another interesting output is potentially the creation of a county citizens academy. I know that a lot of people have mentioned that, and we really see that that helps with that building of the trust for the marketing committee. So that's one of the items that we really want to work on in the timeline, in the time frame.
Absolutely. And also, unfortunately, times have changed where constituents expect different things in regards to social media. They do expect responses. They expect, the ability to be able to interact with individuals. And we need to be informative and also somewhat entertaining and be able to do that. And one of the nice things is being able to create more autonomy amongst departments. It allows them to be able to get disseminate information faster and allows us to be more effective in general. So we're really excited. I'm fired up about this opportunity that we have. If we look at the timeline, you guys saw the very last timeline. There's so many things we can do as soon as possible. We're working on social media policy. I'm working on I already have a draft of the guidelines that we're going to be able to send out to departments of kind of just best practices.
Do's and don'ts for social media.
Exactly. Identify current constituent services. How especially I'm really excited about actually working with all the different departments to make sure that to figure out what are their gaps and what are their strengths that we could actually rest on that because it's not just going to be just a single department thing. If we work together, I think it's going to be a beautiful thing where we'll be able to share all this information for these departments.
And that actually brings in there's interesting synergy going on right now. Okay, you guys just adopted the new logo, right? We're looking at the mission and the vision. We have Tanya Say and her crew actively pursuing the website, which will be 10 times more user-friendly, and it will also be the face and brand of the county. So all of this is occurring, and all this momentum is coming up, and then we have the 125th anniversary of Madera County. And so what we'd like to do as a committee is be able to utilize all of that momentum and build off of it in order to just continue to analyze what gaps and opportunities there are to pursue. So without reading this front to back, is there any other questions at this point in time? Concerns, suggestions?
Moving on.
Anybody else?
Yeah. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's so needed, and I do think that the Citizens Academy is our grassroots marketing. I mean, we give the information to them, let them disseminate it. And I mean, we're missing the boat. Like you said, most of this is free for us to do, and we're missing the boat on it. And more good things are happening here than bad, but we're not telling anybody about that, and so it's easier that the bad just takes over. We don't have control of our message right now. I think if you look at everything that we've talked about here today, it's that we don't have control of our message, therefore we don't have control of our destiny as an organization, and so we're trying to bring it all together in various different ways to actually set ourselves up for success, not to be better than anybody else.
Right. Supervisor Rogers.
Yeah, we can either be defined by somebody else or define ourselves. And I think it's very important to establish our own message, control the message, and social media will allow us to do that. There's one thing that I have identified, my chief of staff and I have picked up on a lot of this, and probably other supervisors have ascertained this as well. And that is that while you have a certain number of people that get involved, and they come to meetings and they talk about those meetings, but the thing that I've identified among those who do that is that they are very uninformed about the reality of the constraints that we live under, and the fact that when they think there's just money that we can let's put some money in to cure that problem. Well, where's it going to come from? And we're constrained in that particular budget to do this or that, and they don't understand that. And I think the rules under which we operate, Citizens Academy, will really help disseminate the idea that, hey, there's more to this than it's not that simple. It's not just that simple of taking a hold of something. And we're operating very well, I think, and obviously better than most of our peers in the state, operating very well under those rules. And they don't realize that. And maybe if they saw what those rules are, they could begin to understand, okay, now I know why they can't just move that money over there and fix this problem and take that road money and just plop it down over here because I'm an MD. I'm in a maintenance district which is not public, and they can't use public funds in a maintenance district. Well, people just don't understand that.
Absolutely.
and we'll get there.
Great.
Well said, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Wheeler, you've been pretty quiet.
I'm busy.
Okay. Great job, guys. Love it.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Great
Thank you, guys.
presentation.
What we've been promoting all along.
Excellent.
And our final category, operational priority, is tree mortality. And so Brittany headed up this group. She's going to give us an update.
Good afternoon. Brittany Dyer, District Chief of Staff to Supervisor Tom Wheeler, the busy one.
He's busy.
Hey, so this came up as a priority at our management workshop, and however, it's structured a lot differently, right? A lot of these groups were just being born, whereas this one has been up and working for over a year now. And so we did take it back to our local tree mortality leadership committee, which meets on a monthly basis. And while we used it as a discussion piece to try to get creative to see if there was anything that we could be doing or looking at opportunities that we weren't already. And the good news is that we're pretty full force ahead on a lot of different efforts. So this group has a little bit different structure, and instead of talking about everything that we're going to do, I wanted to just briefly highlight some of the efforts that we have done to date so that you recognize exactly what this group is doing. So as you know, on October 30th, 2015, the executive order was signed by Governor Brown, which Tom played an intricate role in. From that point on, we participated in the Governor's Tree Mortality Task Force meetings on a monthly basis, as well as several different working groups. We then constructed our Tree Mortality Leadership Committee group, which has PG&E, NRCS, Forest Service, Caltrans. Then we have our county roads, county OES, different community groups, et cetera. And I think the number one takeaway here is, well, millions of dollars have been brought to Eastern Madera County through the Forest Service, PG&E, Caltrans alone, millions. However, I think one of our biggest successes is that we've brought in $1 million direct dollars through small community grants for the folks of Eastern Madera County. And we've utilized different 501c3s in the district in order to get that money out on the ground. So these are small, $50,000 to $200,000 grants that have gone directly in that we would not have received otherwise. Additional efforts include following the May revise and being able to secure the funding that is so very much needed for this next fiscal year. We've also interacted with the Little Hoover Commission and the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, conducted a variety of tours out in the field with decision makers throughout the state, and we continue to look for processing, just development market opportunities. So that's kind of a big little punch right there of what we're doing. But do you guys have any questions about the efforts that are currently underway or where we're going next?
We're meeting Friday.
We are meeting Friday, and I know that Tom or myself a lot of times talk tree mortality, but I just really cannot thank the people who participate in the leadership committee. It's really there where the work gets done. You might say, oh gosh, here's Brittany again talking about tree mortality, but Brad
committee?
Phillips in Rhodes, what's that?
Who's on your committee?
So we have Brad Phillips in Rhodes. His whole team has been really incredible. Norm Allender and his team has been incredible. The Yosemite Sequoia RC&D, that's the Resource Conservation and Development Council, and their staff has been amazing. CAL FIRE as well as Madera County Fire has been at the table from day one. A lot of the weight has been thrown onto the Sheriff's Office and the Office of Emergency Services, and somehow they just keep doing it. So we're very thankful for that as well. And then as well with PG&E, Caltrans, Forest Service, all this coordination and partnership is really what has leveraged the opportunities.
Right. That's one issue that RCRC is very plugged into. And your name comes up quite often. You did an excellent job on your testimony. They're very impressed with you, as I am. Also, we're making quite a bit of progress out there in the field, and I would encourage supervisors, if you, I'm a big Sierra Nevada fan, so I'm up in the hills as much as I can get up there. Yosemite, by the way, Yosemite is replete with water. It is prolific. It's powerfully, if you want to see it in its grandeur, right now is a time to go up there, because the water is jetting off of the fall so powerfully, it's unbelievable. It's amazing.
Flooded yesterday.
What's that?
It flooded yesterday.
Yeah.
Over 10 feet.
It was over its banks. I didn't know that. It flooded the valley?
Yeah, I mean, it went over that 10-foot mark.
The 10-foot mark. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. But as you drive up there, you get a good look at what's going on with tree mortality in Madera County.
and it's being dealt with on a large scale. I mean, I'm really impressed with as much as has been done. I think we're ahead of the curve as far as counties go on that kind of production.
We are. It depends what.
Yeah, well, I mean, we got more dead trees than anybody else, so you got to take that into consideration too. But I think the team's doing an outstanding job with what we have.
They absolutely are.
It's well done. It's a very powerful resource for me, from my standpoint. It all begins there.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, that concludes the presentation of the operational priorities. If your board has any other comments or directions, such as possibly maybe coming back on a quarterly basis with updates, or any further additional direction regarding strategic planning.
I move we approve them all, change that a little bit on the mission and vision, and come back quarterly and give us updates.
Continue the good work.
The CEO's definition that he threw in there. Okay, yeah, I'll second the motion. And with a congratulations to all the committees.
Thing you had in there taken out?
Well, yeah, I think it was going to be taken out right. And then I just wanted to mention, first of all, Eric, I like that idea about coming back on a quarterly basis. I think that's important to follow up and see what progress is being made and so forth. And I think the groups will be happy to provide that information to give us progress, number one. And then number two, you also brought up a strategic plan. What we've got here is a great start, some great working points and plans and great direction. And I think that the next step after this would be to develop that strategic plan for the long term. We'd use that year 2047, and these particular work items are kind of like, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. But, the strategic plan is kind of more encompassing. It's like, what do we want to be when we grow up? What do we want our county to look like? What do we want to look like from a residential, an agriculture, an open space? What do we want to be known as? And that happens with a strategic plan, and it's something also that takes community input. This particular, these work items that we have, operational priorities that we've developed, that's been in-house. It's stuff that we put together. It's an excellent product. Strategic plan is something that is from the folks in the community. It's something that they want to see. It's something we need to get their input. And after the budget is over, I'd like to see us take steps to start take that next step towards developing that strategic plan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to say I agree with that. Strategic planning, goals and objectives are such an important thing, and we've established some very good goals and some good objectives. And if we don't measure those and move forward for the future, then we really have fallen short of what the whole thing is really about. So I think evaluating and developing it into a bigger, the big 30,000-foot elevation picture from the standpoint of further out. And then I think bringing in the community input at that point is very important. Having stakeholders, as you say, stakeholders from every part of the county, your manufacturing, your engineering, your agriculture, all of the things that make this county productive and great, and including our tourism industry as well. So all of those things are part of it, and I agree that we need to do more in the outreach area.
Okay, very good. I think you have instructions. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's move on.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0. Number 8, pending legislation.
I like that. You should be on all this stuff.
Good. Mission.
Okay.
Brittany Dyer, District Chief of Staff to Supervisor Tom Wheeler. Today, the Chief of Staff team were able to look at Assembly Bill 1250, and we wanted to get back to you with this timely discussion. So for those of you who are not aware of AB 1250, let me quote here. Both CSAC, RCRC, as well as the California Association of Joint Power Authorities and the urban counties of California are all strongly opposed to this effort. And they quote it as, AB 1250 would create a chilling effect on all counties and general law cities' ability to contract for services. Affected services areas are defined only by the narrow exemptions in the measure for engineering, public works, and so on and so forth. So what this does is basically creates another layer of red tape on any of our contracting efforts. We already abide to federal standards, utilizing OBM circulars. We already utilize you guys. Every single contract comes forward to the board for approval to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible. So what this does is actually really create another layer of bureaucracy for any contract over $100,000 that would include new audits as well as data collection. So what it does is try to save money and be more transparent, but ultimately makes us spend more money and hinders us being able to get work done on the ground. Another consideration is that a lot of times when we contract out, we're contracting out because we don't necessarily have that specialty, right? We need that. Earlier, Julia was talking about having a geologist, right? We don't necessarily keep all those folks on staff, and so this was very timely. It was last seen. It was amended in the Assembly in May 30th. In fact, at that point, it's now applies to every single county, not just general law cities and counties. And it's now sitting in the Senate rules and will be seen by the Senate Governance and Finance Committee in the near future. We don't have a date. I've been able to reach out to some of the counties. Over 20 counties have written in opposition of this.
All rural?
I'm sorry?
All rural?
No, not all rural. No. In fact, there's quite a few in urban as well, but also like San Joaquin, and there are rural as well. In fact, there's specific impacts to rural because if we need, a lot of times we have to go outside of the county to be able to get some of those specific services.
Like in the Central Valley, there's only a certain amount of people that are
Correct.
in an industry, and they're kind of spread throughout all the counties.
In order to attract qualified candidates for employment. Yep. Exactly. So what you see in front of you today is a letter in opposition that highlights why it's unnecessary, and really, if it's not broken, we don't need to fix it. So, any questions?
Adds a lot of cost. Thumbs up.
I'm for the letter.
Okay. Thank you.
Would you have to do a thumbs down for an oppose?
Yeah.
Oh, right on.
We've done it.
And Rhonda, I'll email that to you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 9, Supervisor and Staff Reports.
Nothing to report.
Go ahead. Mr. Chairman, in the last few weeks, I've attended a road charge technical advisory committee. I've attended a freight advisory committee as a member of the San Joaquin Policy Council. I attended a neighborhood watch meeting in Verinda School, and I'm so happy to have a nameplate. Thank you.
There you go. Yay. You're official.
Yeah, we had a groundbreaking for a new Veterans Memorial in Corso Friday, and they've been working on it for a long time and carrying veterans stuff. We got that going, and then we had a groundbreaking for Hillview's new water system up there. They finally going to have clean water by the end of the year. Got a big plant, new tanks, new filters for arsenic and radiation, everything. So, great couple of days there.
Attended a San Joaquin Valley JPA, the number of meetings in that regard, as well as the MCTC was last week. Always great to make a little visit there because that's a great board, and Patricia Taylor does a great job on that. Kudos out to her. Also, I had the opportunity to speak for the Memorial Day presentation at the Chowchilla Veterans Memorial, and that's always a touching event for me. And I don't believe I mentioned that the post there presented me with a medal, Friends of the Veteran medal. And that was probably one of the more touching things I've ever received in my life. I was very surprised. and shocked, and I'm just grateful to them for their service and the things they've done, and to get a medal from them for being their friend is a high compliment, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
I just wanted to say it was a great last meeting for Mr. Norman Allender. We love you, buddy.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Ahmad,
Don't be a stranger.
you spoke for what, 45 minutes? That's the longest I've heard you speak. By yourself. Eric?
Nothing to report.
You there?
No reports, Chairman.
Back to closed session.
Going to closed session now.
We'll finish it up, huh?
Closed session is when you start to say, things like this.
Yeah, no.
Right. I just try to figure out, it depends on.
All right, man. Good deal. Good meeting. All right. Good deal. Fine. Good team. Yeah. Trying to fill the hole. I just exactly that's what the team's all about.
Chairman, there are no reportable actions from closed session.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Adjourn.